And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. How are all of you? We greet you. We welcome you from wherever you're watching all around the world. We do have an international audience, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. It is Monday at the time of our live broadcast. We do all of our shows live. We are here to inspire, to entertain, to inform, to educate, and to bottom line, have a really good time. We always learn something new on the Jim Masters Show Live. This is an entertainment lifestyle talk show series that we started many moons ago, months ago, almost a year ago, and about 230 plus episodes. We do the series live every single day of the week. And sometimes, like this past weekend, we do 2 shows a day. If we have a special guest that's in a later time zone, like in Europe or what have you, we'll do an extra show earlier in the day, like we did this weekend. It's been an extraordinary experience presenting this entertainment lifestyle talk show series to all of you. And thank you so much, everybody, for all of the cards, all the letters, all of the Instagram posts and Twitter messages and private Facebook messages, as well as the posts on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel as well. And I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. A lot of people have been doing that. We thank each and every one of you who have. And again, coming from all around the world, we broadcast this show every single day at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on YouTube at Jim Masters TV. Tonight, we're also on Facebook at Jim Masters TV as well. So we welcome everybody that's watching on that platform as well. And don't forget to like the page if you haven't. And we've been doing this over 230 episodes, again, with guests from all walks of life. It's just been so exciting to have an opportunity also to engage with all of you. Our lovities, you're probably saying, what is he talking about, lovities? Well, levity is a word we sort of stumbled on when I was saying our show is about light, love, and levity. And I said love and levity a little too fast in the summertime. And all of a sudden, levity came about, and all the viewers call themselves the Lovities. They call me Mr. Levity here at the Jim Masters Show Live. They welcome all of our guests, our illustrious guests, into Levity Hall as a Levity. It's pretty cool. We've got a wonderful community of people all around the world from all backgrounds of life, fields of endeavor, who watch this show and enjoy the show and celebrate the show. And we thank every single one of you for that. And it means a great deal. And of course, we toast all of you. We have our Pine Island, Florida mug that we're still using right now that came to us from one of our Levity viewers around Christmas time, filled with all kinds of goodies. And that was Mary Bishop. We thank you, Mary, as well. And of course, on the show, we always toast you and you and you and you and you. And we welcome you to our show. It's always a pleasure to have you here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Again, something different every single day, something special every single day. And it's always a pleasure to have all of you here. Hope your day's going well. Lots of comments already here. Thanks for those comments. Want to let you know we've got a very special guest who's coming up live and direct from Columbus, Ohio. And I was telling her I was on a TV shoot in Columbus not that long ago. We got a chance to explore that wonderful American city and the heartland. And it's a great place. We're talking about award-winning columnist, author, speaker, also relationship expert, Heather Dugan. She's joining us live from Columbus, Ohio. She's author of several incredible books. She's got a coaching business, and she's just really a delight to welcome to our show. Going to have her here in just a second. First, as always, we love to say hello to some of our Levity viewers, and we say hello to Kathy Short, who's watching in Cleveland, Ohio. So Columbus and Cleveland unite. You're in Cleveland, and our guest is in Columbus. Good to see you, Kathy Short. Willie is here from Holland. Hello, Jim and Lovities. Your son, Sebastian, 43 years old. Happy birthday to Sebastian from all of us at the Jim Masters Show Live. Willie watching in the Netherlands. Mary Bishop, Pine Islands, Florida. Loving that mug, Mary, and all those gifts. Hello, Jim and Levity friends. Happy to be here with you all. We are so blessed to have you here, Mary, as well. Bernadette Vidal never misses a show. She's always here, one of our loyal Lovities. Thank you. We appreciate that. Hi, Jim and everyone, and Wozniak as well. Good evening, Jim and everyone. Happy Monday evening. Good to see you as well. And if you ever miss any of our live shows, because we do the shows live and they're very interactive, all you need to do is go to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and all of the episodes are there. Jennifer is in the kitchen in Allentown, Pennsylvania, dancing while cooking Italian dinner for Ken, for her lover, Ken. She always dances to our theme song, to our music. And Anne says, hello, everybody, as well. And Willie has all kinds of cool emojis here. We appreciate that. And a lot of comments here. Wow, a lot of our guests, a lot of our viewers are popping up from everywhere tonight. I love this. Merlin, Ontario, Canada. Hi, Jim and Lovities. Good to see you, Merlin. Always great when you're here. Mary Ryan in Connecticut. Nice to see you there in Trumbull, Connecticut, right, Mary? Priscilla Sarah watching on our YouTube channel. Good to see you, Priscilla. Welcome to the show. Karen Campbell Green. Good evening, Monday evening, Jim and fellow Lovelies from Nova Scotia, Canada. Tesla Bella's here. Hi, Jim, Mr. Lovely, and all the Lovelies. So happy to be here tonight. Looking forward to another amazing conversation. Love it when you're here. Lots of Lovely, Tess. Appreciate you watching in Florida. Christine Clifton from North Carolina. Hi, Jim and Lovelies. Welcome author Heather Dugan to the show tonight in Lovely Hall. Good to see you, Christine, in North Carolina. Bernadette. Hi, Jim and Lovelies. Happy birthday to Willie's son. And Juanita in South Africa. Hello, Jim and the lovely Lovelies. Good to see you as well. Love the changing colors, Jim. Thank you very much. Oh, and our show open. Thank you very much. Tesla Bella says, welcome to Lovely Hall. Heather Dugan. I already filled her in on the whole Lovely thing. So you guys can pour on the Lovely because she's all ready for it. I told her this is Lovely Hall and you call yourselves the Lovelies, and she's going to be considered a Lovely within seconds of hopping on. Happy Monday. So glad we all spend this time with each other and our wonderful Jim Masters. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Beautiful words. Beautiful turtleneck tonight, Jim. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Juanita says, yes, love the sweater. Gray is my favorite. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Karen Campbell Green in Nova Scotia says, the best thing that happened for me in 2020, discovering the Jim Masters Show live. Wow. Thank you very much, Karen. I appreciate that. And I'd say it's right back at you and everybody watching. Again, this is an extension of my professional work, but I love doing it and communicating with all of you. And our guest is a born communicator as well. And we were both born on September 24th, and we're both Libras. Is that amazing? So our guest Heather and I have a lot of similar traits and vibes. Hi, Jim. Hi, everyone. Hope all is well. Kathleen Walker in New York City. Tess says, you look so handsome, Mr. Lovely. Wow. You sure you have your glasses on tonight, Tess? Mr. Lovely, our beacon of love and light. Cheers. Thank you very much, Tess. And I love how all of you say hello to each other in our community of Lovely here. Speaking of the word Lovely, have I got a surprise for you and our Lovely family coming soon? Wow, I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. And thank you very much. I appreciate that. You guys are the best. I tell you, we have some wonderful people here. Merlin welcoming Karen to Lovely Hall. You're now a Lovely. And Jim, Ken needs to get your sweater. Another one so I can snuggle with Ken. LOL, Jim, you got cool sweaters, man. I know I'm a sweater guy. I do like this time of the year for the sweaters and turtlenecks, cardigans. I've always, like my father the same way with the turtlenecks and the sweaters. And there's something comfortable about a nice warm sweater. Hi, Jim. And you want to go to Nova Scotia, Rainy Cats in New York City. I think I do too. You're in the Midland, Flushing, Queens, Midlands in Queens, New York, right? Absolutely. Good to see you. Fellow Libras in the house. That's right. Juanita is a Libra as well. You sure are. And Kelly from Dublin, Ohio is here. Kelly, it's nice to see you and welcome to the show. Ann Wozniak, welcome, Heather. Looking forward to hearing from you tonight. And all these fantastic comments. I love it. This is amazing. So we're going to talk about a lot of really cool things coming up on this episode, right? You're going to learn something. You're going to have a good time with us. And so is our very special guest, who again is in Columbus, Ohio, which is a terrific place. Our guest is Heather Dugan. And as I mentioned, she's an award-winning author of The Friendship Upgrade, Trade Clickable Connections for Friendships That Matter and Date Like a Grown-Up, Antidotes, Admissions of Guilt, and Advice Between Friends, and the founder of Cabernet Coaches, a social access group for women that fosters self-betterment through face-to-face friendships and social connection. Her talks, keynotes, and workshops are structured around building better business, community, and personal relationships. She addresses loneliness on both the personal and community levels and creates larger conversations on creating space for connection, kind of like what we do here on our show. And Heather's a big fan of our show. She's watched some of the episodes. She said she likes the vibe. Also about building stronger communities. She's also a fan of the total disconnect and often disappears with her adult children to hike mountain trails with cell phones turned off and connection switch turned on. That's the way to do it. That's why she's a Libra. It's all about balance. That's just we were talking about balance and harmony. Let's welcome our very special. Don't you love that picture? Stunning picture of Heather there. She's a talent and she's just a wonderful, warm person. Heather Dugan joining us from Columbus, Ohio. Heather, welcome to our show.
Very nice to be with you tonight.
I like that nice, cozy fire you've got going. It's very warm.
Home has to be our haven right now. We better make it as lovely as we can, right? Lovity.
Right. Lovity. Yes, that's right. So what do you think about the whole Lovity idea? It's amazing, huh? How'd that happen? By happenstance.
I love the way you've pulled people together. We all need that. We need more of that. Thank you, Juanita.
Yes. Juanita in
Yes.
South Africa watching. Bernadette says, welcome to Lovity Hall. And Karen says, my husband has never worn a turtleneck in his life. LOL, I love a man in a turtleneck.
Major hints right there.
There's a hint there, exactly. I do. Everybody wants to go to Nova Scotia now.
I've been there since I was a kid. It was wonderful.
Yo, you went there? You went?
Yeah. My dad was a big traveler. We went all over the U.S. and Canada before I graduated high school, which is a big reason my kids go so many places. So
you get to travel as well. Hi, Heather. You are a beauty and now a Lovity. Isn't that terrific? And Kim is here. Welcome, Kim. Looking forward to your discussion. And Kathleen in New York City said, here's all that Lovity wave I was telling you about. Hi, Heather. Welcome to our Lovity family from Kathleen Walker in New York City. Kathy Short in Cleveland, just up the road a piece from you. Welcome, Heather. And that's really great. And this is nice when you get a chance to see all these comments coming in from our fabulous viewers or Lovities. Mary Bishop in Florida, welcome, Heather. Kim says, Heather Dugan is the best. I love that. I love that. Kelly from Dublin, Ohio. How far is Dublin from you, roughly?
Oh, not far at all. Just a little hop on the freeway. Yes.
That's it. Nice. And Anne says, Wozniak says, welcome, Heather. Looking forward to hearing from you tonight. Yeah, they've been looking forward to you popping on as my special guest on the show, Heather. Christine Clifton here says, Heather, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. You are a Lovity. Glad you could join us. And she's in North Carolina. Mary Ryan in Connecticut. Welcome, Heather, to Lovity. And Tesla Bella says, looking forward to listening to Heather as well. So lots of Lovity coming your way.
Thank you.
So welcome to the show, my friend. And how have you been? How have you been, getting through this unusual time we're in where we are sort of in our homes? We are not necessarily getting together in the way that we really want. We miss, the hug. We miss the high five, the handshake. We miss being right there and being able to look into somebody's eyes and just have an opportunity to feel the warmth and connection. So we're doing everything electronically or very limited social distance. That brings a whole new spectrum of things along with it. How have you been coping and staying connected and creative through all of this?
Right. Well, it's kind of my thing. I had to, you obviously have to adjust quite a bit with this right now. It has to be a daily thing because we get into habits if we don't make ourselves do the things we want to do and we know we need. But, it's very easy to kind of start hibernating if you're not careful. But I've done hibernating. I know that doesn't work.
Yes.
So I at least get out and I walk, whatever the weather. I was actually on crutches for a month recently. I had surgery in October. And I still did a walk on my crutches every day out there.
Kept going.
To make sure I saw people. And then I think knowing that other people are feeling disconnected, that takes the focus off of me, and which is something we all kind of need to do when you're kind of by yourself. Your perspective gets a little narrow, right?
Yes.
But you remember that and kind of start looking for who you might be able to reach out to that needs that kind of a nudge, a little touch. I think that makes a big difference. And so, phone calls are great. And just reminding myself that this is a time. It's a really kind of cruddy time sometimes, but it's not going to be forever. And there's a lot of good things that are possible to find within this, and I'm looking for those. So,
Absolutely right. How many closets have you cleaned?
oh, goodness. And I added my pull-up bar upstairs, and I've like revamped because I wasn't comfortable going to the gym, so I've kind of like revamped some things, and yeah, organizing for sure. Yeah, my son's just hauled a huge refrigerator out of the basement for me the other day, and I'm so excited to reorganize now that that's gone.
Yeah.
Something to do.
Have you've been decluttering too a bit here and there?
I did a bit of it before I moved. I thought I downsized a couple of years ago. But it's funny, I didn't want to bring anything in the home here that I didn't want to keep in the home here. So I'm gradually kind of still going through some boxes in the garage. But yeah,
Yeah.
I like kind of to know where things are, you know,
Yeah.
not in a crazy way, but just to have an idea in what vicinity to find them.
It's amazing we have the same birthday, the 24th of
I
September, and we're
know.
both Libras. Is that something else?
Never happened that I remember. Nobody has, they're close, but nobody has the same one.
Never on the
Happy
20th.
to share it. Happy to share it. Yes.
Yes, and must be why I like 2 and 4 being a Libra, that balance and harmony. They're sort of the even numbers.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, I determined I like a square more than a circle.
Huh. I haven't thought about that.
Isn't that? Oh, yeah, you hang around us, we have some deep conversations here. Talking about, do you like squares or
How do you feel
circles
about
more?
quadrilaterals? You know? Yeah. Okay.
Right, right.
Hexagons? Any doing it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
exactly. How did you first get involved in writing, and specifically the type of writing and journalism that you do, where it's really so focused on relationships and people and communication? Obviously, you're a born communicator. You and I were talking about that before you went live on the air, that you were destined to do this work. But when did you realize, and what were some of those things that inspired you early on to want to do this kind of work? And when did you realize, boy, it really is in my DNA. I don't know anything, I have to do this kind of work. It's in me to do it.
Well, you know, it's in a couple different parts. I definitely, as a child, knew this was, I mean, I wrote my first poem when I was like a first grader, and was the one that got up and sang and wrote music and all that. I'd forgotten about that, but at a high school reunion, people reminded me.
Yeah.
I had no fear about that kind of thing. But, you know, life happened, and I kind of lost my confidence for many, many years, and really doubted my ability to do more than just kind of be a background helper. And I'm fine with that. But then I went through even harder stuff. I mentioned my parents dying when we were talking before the show. About 20 years ago, they both died back to back, I mean, within months of one another. And then my grandfather died. All of that was within about 15 months. So that was a big flip. And then I had a divorce, and I was rebuilding my career. I kind of stayed with the kids for a while, and all of a sudden I needed to charge back into life. And I'd been a voiceover person and video, did TV commercials before. So, but I had to relearn a lot of things. And in all my, you know, it was a very, my kids remember, it was a very scattered time. They remembered the other day that I told them that the reason I had 3 of them was so one of us would remember where the car was parked in the parking lot, because it was the way life was. It was a very busy young kids, you know. So then I guess I when your life feels like it's not really up for company, you know.
Yes.
I
like that expression. I've never heard it said that way. When your life feels like it's not up for company. We all have those periods where, right.
And people pull away. I mean,
Yes.
I did. I think a lot of people hit a tough transition. You know, the way that the world has been the last few years, we are more easily disconnected than we used to be.
Yes.
And that happened to me. All of a sudden, I remember walking, in one of my books, I talk about walking into a PTA meeting, feeling like I didn't belong. And I mean, I had a kid there, but my demeanor was like, I didn't feel like I belonged in my own skin. So, you know, my reaction to this, being a very stable, that's irony there, stable person in the moment, you know, my life was together. You know, I was trying to take care of the kids and care for these grandparents that were still living. and relaunch my career, take care of a home. So of course, the logical thing to do was to start dating, but why not find somebody that wanted a fixer upper is what I figured. But
Mhm.
as I went through that, a lot of people, and that's why I wrote Date Like a Grown Up, a lot of people, when they have a space, immediately think, that's what I need to do. But I soon realized my issue wasn't really the lack of a relationship, but the lack of relationship in general.
Mhm.
I needed to build out foundation, the foundation better, friendships. And as adults, it can be hard to do that. You
Mhm.
don't necessarily, you can't follow people around in the produce department without looking a little weird. And you don't have gym class or math to bond in,
To bring
university
people, yeah, all the
experience.
stuff when you're
Right.
a kid or a teenager or even in
Yeah,
college, and then once we go off and we develop our own lives, you can't just drop over in the same
right.
way, right?
So if your social context gets stripped through a transition, say your kids even just switch schools or something, and all of a sudden the parents are different, how do
Yeah.
I find a friend? So I started this group for women to kind of help us just have a safe space to connect. And that turned out to be a very big thing for people. And it helped them to make better choices in their lives and to, it didn't just affect like, the friend level, it goes way out deeper than that because it makes you better equipped to be who you want to be. So that kind of, as I learned those things, I had to share it because it's like I want to save people a few steps. So that's why as I was learning things, I started writing, and then it's like you learn more things, and so you start talking about it because you can't put it all in the book. So anyhow,
So
depends on
what were
version.
some of the common threads that you saw some of the women experiencing? Was there a disconnect? Was there a loneliness? Was there a feeling of lack of self-worth or all of the above?
All of the above. And that's what's so sad. When we get disconnected, and I really got into the research that's being done on the whole issue with this last book. When you get disconnected, it begins to change the way you even perceive and process things in the world. And so instead of thinking, very logically, well, I just moved or this happened and I just don't know anybody yet, you begin to think that there might be a problem with yourself.
Mm,
And it's a natural reaction and you respond and approach people differently, and it can make it kind of a self-perpetuating issue, which is the big problem, especially right now as we're going through COVID. But yeah, people, you have a couple of bad things happen. Perhaps you grew up in a more dysfunctional than normal family. Most
mm,
none of them do it perfectly, but we don't take the time to evaluate the messages we've received and the tools we're using to process current situations. We're using all this stuff that we've got in our back pocket. And a lot of it should stay in the back pocket or just get thrown out when you're decluttering, right?
mhm.
But we're kind of we're not always seeing things the right way. And if we are looking at ourselves, a lot of times it's not with rose-colored glasses. We see the defects, and we have this voice in our head, So a lot of the women that I've met that are kind of just beginning to connect again are so thrilled. And of course, it's a little different right now with COVID. I'm talking about more when we were in person more, but just to be seen and feel like you're accepted, people know your name, they remember you. We need to be seen by people and to be, it's okay if so what if you're wearing sweatpants or you didn't do your hair or whatever,
Right,
I see
right.
you, and that has nothing to do with any of those things. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Less of the judgment and more acceptance.
right.
Yeah.
And women sometimes, and it happens with men too, if you're single through a divorce or a death or whatever, um, there can be that tendency to find, like the whatever the best available option is. And if you don't have good friends and other options in your life, there can be this tendency to scroll through your phone for the least worst text message from the, one of the last people you went out with or
Least
whatever.
worst. Yeah.
It never goes anywhere good, right? So I think by creating friend groups out of this, people kind of found their own like niche with people, people that they like to hang out with and do different things. Then they have other options, and you can make better choices on dating situations as well. And you don't stay in a dead end job because from your friends that you're better than that.
Mm. That's fantastic. Karen, Nova Scotia says, I made some of my dearest friends after the age of 50. They're my best friends. I love them so much. And Tess in Florida says, how did you get your confidence and comfort back?
Oh, that is good. Well, I did therapy. I did. I'm a strong advocate for that because, like I said, a lot of it is just adjusting the tools you're using. And a lot of times, we don't even see that they're the wrong things. And we're so busy escaping that. I mean, I've done some talks through COVID and I talk about, we have this, COVID has kind of made people confront things a little more than maybe some of them are comfortable with for a long time now.
Including themselves. Yeah. Looking in the mirror.
Yeah. And so we have this cloud of things behind us we don't want to look at, and because we don't want to look at it, we don't identify the separate things and it becomes a much bigger looking cloud and menacing. But, if you look at the feelings that are in there, maybe I'm lonely, maybe I'm afraid. And then you kind of look at, what those things are, then you can begin to isolate them. You can begin to understand why they're there and then put them in their place. And I think as I learned to do that, then your confidence begins to grow because and then you begin to set in place, I may not have the answer to anything comes up, but I can figure out how to find it. And that takes fear away. Absolutely. Because we're more afraid that we can't handle the worst, that we can't handle the pain than we are of the pain that we're hitting a lot of the time. We're more afraid of what might happen. So when you learn that you can, I love that. Yes, therapy is a wonderful thing. When you can, and when you can find people, surround yourself with people that you can reach out to help you find those answers.
Which is very important. Absolutely. And Tess says, thanks for answering the question. Very, very helpful. And Karen Campbell Green in Nova Scotia, therapy is a wonderful thing. Hannah, watching on our YouTube channel, welcome, Hannah. Very true. Friends are so powerful in reminding of us our worth and our grounding. And Juanita in South Africa, wow, Heather, amazing. You're hitting the nail right on the head. The world definitely needs your guidance. And Merlin in Canada, in Ontario, says, I'm 80 and I have friends that I love since I was 17. I think that's fantastic. Yeah.
It's very special. A lot of people don't keep those long friendships. One thing or another happens. You are so fortunate to have friends from 17, and I've been lucky to be able to and that's the good part of social media. Now it can take us in some bad directions too. For instance, if we're passive in use, and just more of a snacking on it, scrolling through. But those long friendships, the problem, like I was saying, when we hit those transitions, we're so busy figuring out logistics that we don't pay attention to that sometimes. And people don't realize too, I mean, there's so many other factors that hit us. Look back 30 years ago. There is a website called domo.com. You should look it up sometime. DOMO, just sounds like it does. And they put an infographic out every summer that shows our digital engagement. And it is mind-boggling. But everything on there, it's apps, it's social media, it's our Googling and texting and all that. We didn't do any of that several years ago. No. So what did that replace? And this reliance we have on digital now, we've moved more towards communication rather than conversation, which is why what you're doing is so important.
I was going to say, being a Libra and wanting that conversation and that connection. Oh, wait, let's toast. I saw the mug. We always do a toast. Okay. There we go. Welcome. Cheers.
Oh, you got it.
And sip, sip. I bet that you have had to wrangle with some of the newer way of and accepting some of the newer ways of communicating pre-internet and cell phones and online and all of this, where it was more of let's get together at the diner and have a slice of cheesecake, cup of coffee, and talk for a few hours and come over to the house or get together, go to the movies or whatever it is. And now it's morphed into where you do something on a Zoom or something, and it seems to be as satisfying or equivalent for some people, where for others it still isn't. I've asked this actually of a couple of performers who have had to adapt to this reality right now with COVID, where they're not performing and they're not on stage and they're not on sets and they're not doing what they want to be doing. And they said, for them, being expressive and being connected, several of them have said, in the beginning for them, this whole online thing for them was kind of exciting, and they had to learn quickly and they had to adjust to it all and even figure out the technology side of what it's all about, because they've never had to do any of this. But now 8, 9, 10 months later, they're like, okay, all right, it's all right. I'm glad that we have that opportunity, but it's not filling them in the same way as when they are on stage or on a movie set or just amongst people, where they hear the roar of the crowd, they see the smiles, they get together. It's they're happy and appreciate that these resources are available. God bless that they are, because we've all been able to stay connected. Yet there's something missing. Some of them have said that it just doesn't. There's one level extra that it doesn't reach.
Yeah, the energy can't be there the way it normally would be. And even, as we talk, if I really want you to know that I'm looking at you, I have to look at the camera up there to look at all your viewers. But then I'm looking at a green light as opposed to really seeing your face. So it's a little different.
And that's perfect. My favorite color is greens. That's why we have the green light. How did you know that?
Mine's green too.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you.
Are we
close? Green light.
Libra. Oh my God.
I'll say, too funny. Another thing too that I think people don't realize is how, not just the digital that we kind of loaded up on the last few years, but we just had a whole change in the way we lived our lives. The on demand all the time, that
24/7, you can't breathe. No, somebody emails you at 7 a.m. or 2 a.m. and they want a response immediately, and it's like being a doctor on call sometimes. And sometimes, not everybody has the ability to do that. You could be at a funeral and getting texts, and they want a response right away, and I'm like, I'm at a funeral. Can you give me an hour?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But there's like this expectation. And
right.
So we've gotten it. There's even a word now for phone snubbing. Baylor researchers coined it a few years ago, but they call it phubbing and phone snubbing. But I mean, I forget what the percentage was now, but there were couples that felt like it was a huge interloper in relationships. And yeah.
Well, I had a coworker whose girlfriend, at one of the radio stations I was working at on iHeartRadio, his girlfriend broke up with him via text. Via text. Not even like, let's get together and have a coffee and talk and wish each other well, but broke up via text.
Yeah. See, we have these. We want to believe that we will always make the more grown-up choice. But when there is an easier way, that's what the texting instead of phone calls, et cetera. If you don't want to have a pushback on something, it's a lot easier just to, then you don't have to see their face look at you. Emojis are not the same as facial expressions.
No.
We're losing a lot in the way we perceive and understand one another, because we've gone to this more digital communication that removes all these what we used to rely on to really understand each other, the expression, facial expression, vocal tone, body language, all those things are important. Those are non-vocal cues, but they're like social cues for us that we've typically relied on. So it's no wonder that sometimes people feel less connected and maybe a little less understood by others. Anyhow, I'm a big fan of conversation. I think we've got to do everything we can to take it back a step when it makes sense. So.
I agree 100%. Absolutely. Here's some of the comments coming in. Mona says that she can relate. Karen says, I admit it, I am addicted to my cell phone. Hannah says, yes, I'm grateful for the tech we have, but I think death by Zoom is definitely a thing. I'm so ready for in-person hugs and smiles again. Karen says, I needed to start a life outside of the family unit to find my individual identity again, which I did once my kids got older. And thanks, Bernadette says, thanks for the technology keeping folks connected, online gigs, shows, COVID times.
Right.
For many years, my entire identity was mother and wife. I lost my self-identity for many years.
So
That happens often, right?
so she went through a big transition then when they moved. That's one of the big ones, when you have the empty nest all of a sudden. Because, yeah, I mean, how do you, when your world has been your kids, where's your world when they're gone? That all those parents, sometimes those relationships are simply proximate relationships, or, ones are more convenient because, you shared carpool or whatever. And people, when they change jobs, that can happen too. It's important that we really build strong connections that aren't reliant upon circumstance. And that takes time. And the problem with all these, see all the, I mentioned the digital, I've called it opportunity clutter in general, because we've just had, everything looks potentially useful. So we tend to hold on to options and make less decisions, but that leaves us with less time. And so to be more efficient, we have tended to kind of push aside friendships in favor of more acquaintances and that kind of thing. We take the thing that looks like it's going to require, it's going to give us better use of our time, but it actually gives us like kind of a lower quality of life is what ended up happening. So there are a lot of things we've done in the name of efficiency, but that's basically, we value momentum over the moment we're in, and you lose things when you live that way.
That is very, very true. Tess asks, is there a woman you know that has inspired you in your writing?
Gosh, I've read some very good writers. Recently, I love Lori Gottlieb. I'm a big fan. I don't know if you've read I'm trying to remember the title. I always get the title wrong, but she is a therapist who wrote kind of her own journey, and it's funny. She was a screenwriter at one point too. I think at least worked in Hollywood. You familiar with her?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But I love, just because I do believe that most of us need at least a visit to talk to an unattached outsider at some point in our life, just to reset a little bit and to kind of get your ground point, your starting point. And I love how she is vulnerable and really demonstrates the difference that makes in a life, if you can be, if you can really be open to that. So she's one for sure. And then I get inspired by just people in general. When my aunt inspires me because of some of the things she's gone through. There are a lot of, I get inspiration from my own kids. I know what challenges they've had, and I have friends that have gone through some pretty incredible things too. We find inspiration wherever we look if we just kind of open our eyes a little bit, I think.
A positive mindset is really important, isn't it? And also, you hear a lot of talk, and I've read several books on this, which I love these kinds of topics. Great airport waiting for the plane reading and on the plane reading, books on things called, of course, emotional intelligence. That's really important, isn't it?
Oh, that's, I think, the best skill you can have. I feel like if you can communicate and understand, be able to listen instead of feeling like you need to jump in and like make your case for something or other. Yeah, that makes all the difference in the way you can navigate in the world, and you can handle conflicts a little better, because conflict's part of life. I mean, that's the world we live in. Not everybody's going to agree on things, but I think the emotional intelligence is probably more valuable than, well, I don't want to say it's more valuable than math, but I think it's definitely up there.
It's up
And
there.
it's about where we live, right? It's about the relationships, and we need those.
What are some of the things you're hearing from some of even your clients who are struggling with the situation of the economic and seeing what they're seeing on TV, political unrest, civil unrest, pandemic, health worries? It can really, any one of those things, the political situation, the civil unrest, the economic losses, the health pandemic, COVID situation, any one of those could,
It's too much.
it could be major for anybody to deal with, but now all of it is coming at us at once. What are some of the things you're hearing that people are struggling with?
Yeah. Well, I think, one of the big things is we don't have the release valves we normally would,
Right.
to kind of be able to work through some of these things in a more steady fashion. But I mean, I'm hearing heartbreaking things this past week. Friends and families that have been split over the political. Certainly, that's tough. It's really tough, and we've got to get better at offering channels back for people that maybe have had changes of heart on things, and just to look for the commonalities we have between us. We've gotten really good at showing up, pinpointing the differences. I think a lot of times we look at each other, if we think we're going to disagree, and we do it like those pictures where they say, point out how many things that are different.
Yes, right.
That's how you divide. What we want to do is look for what we share. And a lot of times I suggest to people, that we share many of the same values. We just might weigh them a little differently based on our own life experience. So, I have a neighbor who we always laughed about, we kind of canceled out each other's votes. And, we were able to talk about all this. But, I understand, I don't agree with some of his views on things. I mean, they wouldn't be my choices, but I understand why he weighs some things differently and of higher value than I did. It's just, because I grew up with different things. And so those things are more important to me. And that doesn't make either of us, a better person or more right or anything. It's just, that is what we see. We expect other people to see things, and we look at it so clear. And we expect other people to look from that same framework. And we need to understand and accept and actually even value the idea that they have a different perspective, and that some of that perspective could be pretty valuable to us too, if we're willing to kind of consider that more.
Everybody is welcome to the table, and that's the way it should be, right? And I think it's really important. Kelly says, so true. Our normal coping mechanisms are altered. So time for self-care is even more important now. Christine Clifton says all of these combined these past weeks. The events have really gotten her very down, being directly affected by some of this. I do know there is much to be grateful for. Some days are tough. This is where Jim's show comes in. Jim and his show and the Lovedies have helped me so much to keep positive, uplifted, and happy. And I keep telling people, which I know you're a strong believer in as well, is to, even though it seems like everything that we knew and everything that we sort of believed in or whatever is morphing and changing, disappearing, whatever it may be, look for the constants. So if you're near an ocean, go to the ocean and watch the tide constantly come in and out. Watch the sun rise and set. Go and immerse yourself in nature and see the birds and other animals. They're there. They're always going to be there. They were there yesterday. They were there way before you. They're going to be there way after you. And surround yourself. The holidays that just came, the Christmas and the Hanukkah and the New Year, and all the music, and that is a constant that comes each year. We couldn't do everything we wanted to do as far as gatherings and all, but still the spirit of it all and the joy and the blessing of it all is there for the taking. It's surrounding ourselves and reminding ourselves of these little blessings and simple things in life that exist. And if you need the visual, then again, go, walk in the forest or plant a garden, these things that are constant. So the world is maybe seems like it's coming apart here, there, but there are things that you can surround yourself that are still there and reliable, right?
Yeah. And, you're reminding me, my kids I used to tell them, you can walk in the woods and you can either look for flowers or you can look for garbage, and you will find whatever you look for, we can't change the circumstance. And I'm not suggesting that we be blind eye to things that we need to look at, but you get to pick what you look at. And that perspective is going to either add energy to your life and help you grow in the right direction, that, so that you can be of use to other people.
Right.
Or it's going to swirl you down somewhere that, that isn't going to be good for anybody. So, you acknowledge the things that are hurting you. I mean, we can't pretend they're not there. But then, like I was saying earlier, you kind of identify it, you put it in its place, remind yourself, it's temporary, like you're saying, and look at what continues. We're a lot stronger than we realize if we simply, allow ourselves to tap into those kinds of truths instead of getting overwhelmed and getting swept along. I mean, our own brains and hearts are pretty powerful if we use them in the right direction. So I'm a big fan of talking myself through things. When sometimes we use our voice in the wrong way. Yeah, I think a lot of people say, yes, I've done this. I call it the hateful heckler, that kind of does this negative play-by-play.
Self-imposed, yeah.
Right. What you did do, what you didn't do, what you said wrong, whatever. But to instead turn that voice into a fan and an affirming encourager for your life, that makes a big difference in the way you go through your day. And when you think about it, I mean, we're adults. We kind of are in charge of encouraging ourselves, and to rely on other people to do it is that's not their responsibility.
Right.
So we need to use our voice in our head as our own team voice. Don't trash talk your team. Instead, have it be your help you move forward.
Exactly right, because we can be our own worst enemy, right? We can
Right.
really shoot ourselves down, especially if you come from a background, which some people do, where all their life maybe they have unresolved childhood issues, where they were talked down to, or they were told, oh, no, you can't do that, that'll hurt you, or you can't do that, that'll you should never do that, and you shouldn't try that, and you'll never be able to be good at that. And they have all of that ingrained in them, so that affects their business relationships, their personal relationships, romantic relationships. Everything is tied into these unresolved feelings of self-loathing and lack of self-worth and honoring oneself. I always say at the end of the show, I show this, and I tell everybody at the end to make sure to relax and to breathe, take care of one another, love one another, and to love yourself, because you need to be able to love yourself and have that oxygen, so then you can breathe oxygen in the direction of other people and help them and lift them up as well. So I am totally in the same mindset of you, in realizing that it has to come from within. We have to reignite that spark that sometimes we allowed to fizzle out, or we allowed other voices outside of us to say, hey, you don't even try it. You'll never make it. You won't be able to do that. Don't even, and sometimes there's two ways people look at that. They will back down and they will retreat, and they will never give themselves that shot or opportunity to at least see if they could have done it. Or some people are extra motivated by the challenge of being told that they can't do it, and they'll go out and they'll do it, and they'll do the best job they can at it. So that self-worth, self-loathing sort of situation can come from as early as childhood, right?
Right. And the thing on the voice that we were talking about, a good measure that I started using a few years ago, that I decided not to say anything to myself that I would not say to one of my kids.
I like
and you
that.
can substitute anybody you care about in there. But if you wouldn't say it to them, why in the world would you say it to yourself? You're kind of your closest living relative, right?
That's it. Exactly. Right.
You might as well be, a fan and help move yourself in the right direction. And then I used to be embarrassed to tell people this, but I do encourage myself. And by that, I mean, there are times I'm like, go Heather, and look what you did. That may not have been exactly the way you wanted to do that. You may not have said that quite the way you wanted to, but that was brave and you did it. Who else is going to say that to me? If you're going to do the work, congratulate yourself when you do it.
Right. Exactly.
Important. You know what? It helps with that positive attitude you're talking about. It helps you stay on track, and it makes you happier. I mean, because you're appreciating life a lot more when you go with that mode.
What are some of the things you like to do? I mentioned in the introduction that you like to take the kids and you'll go for a hike and you'll turn off technology. You'll turn off all of the buzz and the noise and the 24/7 constant being available all the time. and probably sometimes do things off the beaten path, right? I will find that some of the most pleasurable times that I have are not the times that I've perfectly executed, scripted, planned, coordinated. It's when we get in the car and we drive not knowing where we're going to end up, and we end up at a little place having apple crisp and hot cocoa in Vermont or something. You know what I mean? Where we didn't plan, and we're all saying, everybody in the car, it says, Jim, where are we going, where are we going? I'm like, who knows, because we're all experiencing it together at the same time. There isn't an end point. There isn't, okay, how long till we get there? There isn't the expectation. Sometimes, like, even I have had to say to myself, gee, it's amazing how I've had to sometimes lower expectations to lower disappointment possibilities. So if you lower the expectation, the disappointment in that person or the outcome of this or whatever it is will be less, because you've lowered the expectation. Even though you really want the expectation here, you've lowered it. So I think sometimes not even having expectation and just rolling with it, just letting it ride and soaking it all in together, versus perfectly planning and scripting every single thing. Now, if it's a wedding, that's different. There has to be some planning and scripting in that. You got to know when to cut the cake and all the rest. But if it's just some basic things, you know what? All right. You don't have the blue sweater. It's in the hamper. Grab the green one and let's go type thing. Let's see where the car takes us.
I think the flexibility factor is beautiful. I think what you're talking about doing is something I'm a huge fan of, is just creating the space for connection. We have so many distractions in our lives. And when you remove them, when you give somebody your total focus, that is like the biggest gift that people want. And yeah, I don't call it lost. I call them off the map moments.
Yes,
when those happen, I'm like, guys, look around. We're not going to see this again. It's a good, it's not wasted if you're learning something from it. And if you're learning something from the people you're with. I like to repurpose the bad things that happen, and I like to gather in all the information from wherever I am and whatever I'm doing. So it's that curiosity thing, that wanting to discover, that helps us connect first, I think, with ourselves, which we need first, because you can't connect with other people well if you're not comfortable in your own skin, and if you don't know kind of who you are presenting to people, right?
Right.
And then being curious about other people, because we know all this. I'm done with this. I know myself pretty well at this point. I'm much more interested in finding out about your experience, and that's where I continue to grow then, if I'm doing that. And when you can take somebody that you want to be with and go into whatever new situation, like you're saying, on the road, in search of apple crisp, or, I do mountains and stuff. I do all kinds of travel stuff, but I do love getting off and away, places where, off the paved trail, where you're not going to be bumping into a zillion people. You might bump into a grizzly bear, which would not be my first choice. But I love the problem solving that happens when you put yourself out there, and it's another good confidence builder when you like, even what you're saying about getting on the road and going somewhere and finding, I can create something fun and connective out of this by having no plan at all. You're learning something, and you're being more confident in your ability to enjoy wherever you are with whoever you're with. So I think those are good skills to look for the value in that, and then you find it.
You mentioned that you repurpose the negative. How do you repurpose the negative? Do you refile it, retitle it? How do you work on that?
I look for the lessons in it. My kids were like, they heard a lot of analogies and stuff going up, and then I found that I'd look for the things that I could draw out of experiences that we had, and I use those in my talks and in my writing a lot. But we can learn from anything. I went through some really rough times. I mean, I mentioned the death part. There was other stuff before that. I would not be who I am today without those. So I kind of look at, if you're okay with who you are now, you have to be able to accept the things that have gone into creating that person. And learning to deal with the things I did gave me such an understanding of it, opened my eyes to what other people might be feeling and going through. And I value that more than anything. I mean, I to the point that if I were given the choice of going through some of the tough stuff, I would rather have done that and do it if the sacrifice if not doing that meant that I didn't have the empathy I do for others. I would rather I wouldn't want to live that way because I think it's so important to I don't want to be a cold blind eye to other people's experiences. So that's some of what I mean by the repurposing. There's something to be gleaned from the worst times, and then that makes them, yes, they're still bad, but you've brought something out of it that is useful. And then it's not wasted. It's,
Exactly.
yeah.
So, what are some life lessons that maybe you've learned even about yourself during the last several months of COVID? Because a lot of people are they are sort of rediscovering who they are. They're sort
Mhm.
of pivoting and pausing and saying, okay, for the rest of my life, what else do I want to do? I've done this up till this point, and am I doing things that are filling my cup, that are serving my soul, my purpose? Am I living my bliss, my joy? Um, maybe I've been serving over here, but I haven't been serving my needs. Maybe I've always wanted to write the book or go hiking or do things that I haven't had a chance to do. And now over these many months, being in the house and being socially distanced, there's been this opportunity to do the various things to express ourselves in ways that maybe we held back in doing,
Mhm.
and reconnecting with people that maybe we didn't have quote unquote time for because we were so busy clearing out our inbox and our voicemails and going forward without taking time to stop. And I'm very big about, I'm not sure about you, I would imagine you're probably similar. When something is done or something is accomplished, or when you've gone somewhere or you've experienced something, I don't immediately want to go right to the next thing. I want to stop,
Mhm.
breathe, reflect, and pause on what we just, and maybe even discuss what we just experienced, what that was about, and can allow that energy to still flow through me, and then take that post show type energy with me to the next thing versus do it next, do it next. I've never been a do it next, even though it seems like I am. I really crave the pause in between the this and then the next. Because that pause in between is some of the most beautiful, incredible time
Yeah.
because you are relishing in what you just saw, did, and experienced, right?
I think you're kind of like planning your little milestone there, and it's important to put those in our lives. I mean, otherwise, you're right; it can all kind of go into a big blur. But I think one of the things for me, I think just really honing in on more selectivity. I mean, there's so many things. A few years ago, I'm interested in a lot of things, and there are a lot of things not a lot of things, but there are a few things I've been pretty good at. But if you really want to fulfill purpose, if you feel a passion to do certain things, there's some things you're going to have to let go of a little bit. And so I remember thinking, uniquely gifted, what am I uniquely gifted at? I'm pretty good at this, but a lot of people are pretty good at that. And I think more and more I try to do the things that I feel are mine specifically to maybe bring forth to the world. And I've been really focusing on some next things that I'm writing right now. I think going through this with less going on around, it's becoming more and more clear, how much of our happiness really is ours to construct. And I don't mean in a false framework kind of thing, but I mean it's a channeling thing. And I'm not saying that they're not challenging moments. There definitely are. But to be able to go through those and be okay, and to be like excited about things, and to have hope for things, even like when you've maybe had a really dark COVID bad politics day, whatever the case may be. Anyhow, I'm learning a lot with that right now. And I'm very excited to kind of, been working on this next book, trying to bring all those ideas in. My loose title is How to Be Happy While Human. So the idea being that, you got to be human in order to really connect with people. But a lot of times people feel like if you're going to be real, that's going to drag you down into, the eddies. But you can still be happy and human at the same time. And I'm kind of trying to put all that. So that's kind of my big COVID thing, I would say.
To tie those together, right? I like that.
Yeah.
Happy while being human. That's right.
It's a challenge sometimes, but it's definitely, I feel like this has been a really good, insightful time. I love all these greetings I'm seeing on the screen. It's great.
Yeah, it's terrific. We like to bring in the viewers and keep it interactive and all the levity along the way. I want to talk about some of the books and things of that nature. Tell us about this one here, The Friendship Upgrade, Trade Clickable Connections for Friendships That Matter. What was the inspiration for this book, Heather?
Well, this is the one, I wrote it second to the Date Like a Grown-Up, but I call it the prequel because this is where I should have started. Date Like a Grown-Up is where I started personally, thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to go date. Why not? But what I really needed was the friendships. And I love to tell people, those are actual friends on the cover. My publisher, we were having a hard time coming up with a cover. And a bunch of us were down. A friend had, her boss had given us his second home in Florida. And this was a shot on the beach that they took. And it was just perfect. So yeah, that's Christine and Molly and Francie in the middle. So
real people, not actors.
Real people. And they're real stories in this book. That's the other part. There's a lot of, I brought more research into this one just because I was really interested in it, kind of not in a geeky way. I write very conversational actually, but and I like to bring in humor because, life hurts sometimes. You got to find the laughs in it. But I kind of with this book, I kind of talk about how this whole isolation thing happens to people and kind of remove the stigma of it because it feels like a punishment to people sometimes. And then a lot of I interviewed a lot of people. So there's personal stories in here. Same with the other book. And, some of the stories are funny and some are hard, but people have been through a lot of really, I love that our experiences are so different. And that's why these are valuable because people can see something of themselves in them and yet also understand that others' experiences are going to be so much different than their own. But anyhow, it goes on forward through talking about kind of some of the ways that we can then begin to build connection.
I like this expression of trade clickable connection.
Yeah.
How do you define what that is? Well,
people think, I'm connected. I'm on Facebook. I'm getting emails. I'm busy. I'm connected. Of course I am. I don't have time. But clickable is kind of a touch and go thing. And it's not the satisfying kind of connection we need. In the book, I talk about the efficiency effect, which is our response to the overload that we've had. For some women, for instance, if they're married, they might dial down all their social interaction to that one relationship, or maybe it's a family member or something because they don't have time to hear all other stuff, right? Well, when you kind of rely on one or two people, you're putting yourself at risk, all kinds of reasons, people, life is finite. Relationships sometimes have an ending point. And so, in the book, I also talk about how we need not just one best friend. It's better if you have best friends, plural, because that gives you more legs. And if something goes, then you've got more places to, you don't want to lean all in one direction. It's not good for the relationship anyways, because nobody can handle all your stuff. You need to spread it around a little bit. But the book goes into a lot of those things, the things that we've done that we think are efficient that really are kind of hurting us. And it talks about how you can begin to rebuild connection. And a little bit, I go more to this in this next one I'm working on, but some of the things that can get in our way, in the way we approach people, the things that we don't understand or perceive because we're in the middle of it. It's a very, I wrote it like I would talk to my friend. I mean, I think that's what I've heard from people that have read it, the reviews and stuff. I really try to keep, because I've been there. And that's the reason I wrote it. I didn't want anybody to be there any longer than they have to be, because it hurts.
Right.
So, and then I talk about how to maybe begin building a group in your community, what kinds of things you can do to grow a resource for other people, because we need that, we need access points. So a lot of times, I think, the dating thing, for instance, the other one, people, the decisions that we make there, it's like, if we don't have friends, we approach things like dating, like, it's like walking into a convenience store when you're starving and looking for healthy food, you're not going to do well that way. You're going to grab the first thing.
Yeah.
And so the friendships, I mean, that makes life better. So anyhow, I wrote it because I needed it, and I've been really pleased, to hear the responses to it. People seem to find it very helpful.
So it was very cathartic, very therapeutic experience for you to write that then, huh?
Well, I want to help, I mentioned being an oldest child too. It's like the helper thing, the nurturing. I really am a firm believer, I write good reviews on Google too. If I can save somebody a step, I want to do it. And that's what this book is. It's hopefully a way to, it's a manual to help you get there quicker, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So it's just not it's a bad way to live if you're disconnected. And it's a bad way to feel if you think it's your fault. So this book does a lot to kind of address those things.
And Wozniak says, as you age, you need lots of best friends.
Yes, agree. I have friends that I go biking with. I have friends that I've hiked with. I've have, different friends are into different things. I have friends that like art, and, I like the different things that I learn from each, and hopefully they find different things with me too, as well. It's too much to put. I think of it like a romantic relationship. If you just kind of keep everything there, it's like living in a bubble and expecting everything. You're going to suck all the oxygen out of there really quick, right?
Right.
So you need other things in your life and other people, and that adds value for everybody.
It really, really does. A couple more comments that have come in here as well. And I love these comments coming in from our lovely viewers around the world. Karen says there's nothing like sitting at a cafe or at your house with real in the flesh friends to drink coffee with, to have conversations with. Maureen says, it seems that clickable connections are those who won't be there for you when you need them. We need those real friends to help us get through those tough times, right?
Yeah, and for real friend, you have to be real with each other, and and that means revealing things that are hard sometimes, but we don't have to dump. You don't want to dump all that right away. That's something that grows through time. The one thing with the clickable, I'm thinking of Facebook a lot of the time, some of the social media outlets, people spill a lot more really quickly, hoping to get that closeness with somebody sometimes in their posting.
Looking for the sympathy and
but that's too, you can't foster a friendship that way by just putting it out there for the whole world. So by clickable, I mean, it takes face-to-face time. That makes this really hard now. The group that I started, Cabernet Coaches, we met every Wednesday for a happy hour. And the reason it was Cabernet Coaches, it wasn't because of the wine. I'm not a huge drinker, but it was the alliteration. I've got to say, the writer in me. And we were doing happy hours. So, but from there, people found people to go biking with and to do paddleboarding and yoga and travel and all those kinds of things. And I know now some of us, until my surgery, I was joining people to hike sometime, a small group out on our date that we usually would be out doing our happy hour together. But the fact that, we were face to face and people could kind of just download what was going on and catch up with what was happening in somebody else's life. And to know it was a different gathering every week, different people, but you knew that you would know somebody there. And if you didn't right away, you would know several by the end of the night, and you'd have somebody to do something with the next weekend. So it's a really, everybody needs that in their life because it's possibilities, in the form of other people, right?
Exactly right. Exactly. There was a comment, I think it was Hannah, that said, no one knows the encouragement I need like myself. I'm with you on the self-encouragement, Heather. And going through the hard is the tough but rewarding path. Because Bernadette had said a little bit earlier, she was sharing with us, a rough life of losses and health issues for me and mine. Hard to be positive at times. Prayers, music, reading, writing all pull me through.
Bernadette, I'm sorry for you, what you've been going through. I do hope that you've got somebody you can talk with sometimes. We need to get that out. And you're right. I mean, the praying and the writing and the reading, I forget all the things that you said there, but it sounds like you're good at kind of addressing. There we go. Addressing and writing. Oh, that is so, when we write down, we tend to pull ourselves through the process as opposed to swirl around in the same place. So that's a really positive thing you're doing with that too. And
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead. Yeah.
I hope that you're beginning to see, just a brighter time ahead as you begin to find, it's different.
Some peace and solace
like that. Yeah, it's different. But let me share one thing. When my last book, the local launch for that was in a really cool, you probably get to German Village when you were here, but there's a really cool bookstore down there. And it was we had a really great gathering that night. And I realized as I was about to give the talk, I think the day before, that the date of that would have been my dad's 80th birthday. And he's been gone 20 years now. And this was just like a year or 2 years ago. I'm losing track. COVID time, my brain gets fogged. But I realized, my dad was a huge influence on my life, and he was my safe place. And I was very lucky to have a very loving dad. But I also realized that had he still been in my life, even though I was in depression after he died. I mean, it took me a long time to get on my feet again. I realized I would not have grown in the directions and in the ways I had if he'd still been there. I wouldn't have had to. And that would not have been a good thing. I mean, there were a lot of positives that came out of the fact that I had to grow without him for a period of time. So I guess I don't know what your situation, Bernadette, is, but that is something I observed. I mean, it took a while to get to a place where I could really see. But I remember somebody saying another loss, and somebody said, well, it was like a limb disappearing from a tree, and then, there's light in a different place that has to, you kind of have to do things a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always a bad thing in the end. So
Karen says her grandfather and mom were huge influences in her life, her hero, her mentors. And Juanita in South Africa says, I now live in a small town with wonderful people and opportunity to make good friends while living in the city for the 10 years before I made but one real friend. City life and the business and time constraints sometimes can be tough on relationships or friendships as well, huh?
It's interesting because you would think, I mean, there's more proximity in a city, right? You're running by people all the time, but I think it's that receptivity just may not be there. People have to be in the same moment together where they want to kind of, and the friendship upgrade, I remember talking about meeting one of my friends when we were at the gym, and I basically met her by saying, I'm about to pass out. Can you sit with me for a minute? I have this tendency to faint sometimes. I fainted during like cortisone shots and stuff. But
when Donny Osmond was singing Puppy Love.
There you go. I'd made an unfortunate choice and ate a little candy bar as a pre-workout because I had no other food and it was in the car. It was right there, So I had one of those sugar up and down things. But I remember thinking, she took the time to sit down and we got to be fast friends because she was receptive in that moment. And, that's what it takes. And I don't know that people in the city, if you're buzzing around somewhere, are always going to be ready to slow down, as for something spontaneous like that. You have to change your plans a little bit sometimes, I always say if you run into somebody interesting and you have a good conversation, you have to actually stop and have the conversation then, as opposed to hope it'll present again.
Hannah, watching on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV, says, any tips on how much effort to put into a friendship when it is fizzling? It's hard to let go of friends who were close but aren't as interested anymore. Constantly being the connector is exhausting. I can relate to that. I tend to be the connector too. Yeah. And there's times where I've hung on to many different things, even work related, where I should have cut it loose a while ago. But you don't want to be the one that does that cutting.
Yeah. Well, and I think, sometimes friendships, relationships are for a season, but if they're things that you value, I think you just don't put the pressure on yourself quite as hard anymore. You always want to consider if there's the possibility that they're going through some things that are a little difficult that they're not ready to talk about right now. Give them a little bit of space, but maybe let them know you're still there and interested in seeing them, and then just don't push as hard. And a lot of times those will come back later, or maybe you include them in a larger group so that there's always a way to keep at least that connection there. But sometimes over time, as our lives change, some of those relationships do change with them. But then, I do love some of the friendships that, like from my childhood, came back again later. There's kind of an ebb and flow sometimes on these things. But I think your own receptivity and your openness, it's important to maintain that, because sometimes people get their feelings hurt, or they start to judge somebody else for not doing this, that, or the other. But keeping the empathetic viewpoint usually goes a lot further in helping a connection either continue down the line, or at least to be on good terms in whatever form it is. So
the empathy rules. The empathy is very, very important, right?
I think, because we don't know all that's going on in somebody else's life. You think you do, but at the best, it's a guess. It's a guess. People are going through a lot of things. There's the social convener for a circle of friends. Yeah, somebody's got to do it sometimes, but it shouldn't feel like a burden on you. It can become a burden if you feel like it is all on you, and then it's not fun anymore, and it needs to be something that is enjoyable for you as well. But the less pressure. We don't need more pressure in our lives, that's for sure.
No, there's plenty out there, right? Self-imposed as well as from outside sources. You've written several books, actually. We showed The Friendship Upgrade. This one too. This is the one before. That's the very
Date Like a Grown-Up.
Yeah, right. Tell us about this one.
Well, I was really
I like the way you giggle a little bit about it.
Yeah, I know. The title came, I remember somebody telling me, I was just starting to date, and they're like, "Oh, if it's a bad one, I'll just send me a text and I'll give you an excuse," And I remember saying, "No, I want to do this. I want to date like a grown-up this time," because I remember, as even in college, just feeling I would take the easy way sometimes, and I wasn't comfortable, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I treated people the way I want to be treated? Let's try that for a change. And so in the book, there are some stories. There are a lot of people. It's funny, once you write a book like this, you get a lot of stories from people. I have
just volunteer them, right?
Oh my mind, yeah.
Come up to you in the produce aisle and said, "I read your book. I want to tell you about my situation."
Yeah, pretty much. But I think that a lot of people go into this with the wrong, like if they're ready to date again, they jump in without really kind of setting their feet on the ground first, and so that's where the problems happen. But I do, I kind of lay out in very pretty gentle terms, but what you want to look at, why you want to look at it, and the importance of kind of being. You've got to get comfortable with yourself, and then you don't go in directions that aren't going to allow you to be the best person you can be. One of my big indicators, about a few years ago now, dear, I'm just reading that amazing on that cover. That popped up. And one of my dear friends took that photo, by the way. I've got to say too, a high school friend took that photo. And the cool thing was that launched her into a photography career. That she's got an amazing career now doing that, because I'm like, you're good at this. Will you please? Because I didn't, you don't trust everybody to take your picture.
Exactly. So what's an example of dating like a grown-up and
Yeah.
not dating like a grown-up? What would be some examples of that?
Right. Okay. Well, okay. Ghosting, for instance.
Yeah.
That's not respectful. And you know what? Frankly, why wouldn't you just explain? You don't have to give long, drawn out conversation, explanations on things. But I love being upfront with people. I think you feel better about yourself if you have the courage to be upfront with somebody else. Now, in that book, I also lay out, sometimes we just don't have the words. And I try to give some suggestions on language to use. But if you kind of, you can help somebody. I mean, hopefully we are all at least a little bit invested in the lives of those around us, even if it's for, this short little time you've gone out and had coffee together or something. But, not knocking him down, and like diminishing their confidence by ignoring them is important. You want to kind of at least, there's something in that person that is going to be valuable potentially as a romantic partner for somebody else. So I think it's really important to kind of just be honest, and that means don't pretend that feelings are there if they aren't. And, you don't take advantage of somebody. I know women that have gone out with somebody because they, provided things that they enjoyed. And, it's important that we do our own lives right now. We share bigger things than, a dinner here or a trip there. Hopefully we've got, you connect on the things that really are going to be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different things in there. I'm kind of hitting just a couple of things right there, but
is it meant for, when you wrote that book, do you envision who that book is for?
I wrote it to help other women like me, but it's funny. A lot of the reviews are from the men. And a lot of guys have said they really like that it's given them a better understanding of how women perceive them. This is the thing. And I'm writing workbooks for both of these. I'm finishing one for the friendship upgrade first, and I want to help people kind of walk through step by step a little more some of the things we need to do. And I hope to be doing those in actual workshops with people too at some point. It may have to be virtual. We'll see. If anybody's interested, let me know, because I may have to set up the virtual at some point. But the Date Like a Grown-Up one, I really want to do one on that too, because a lot of times people are making very small errors in the way that they are coming across to people. And if they just make this little adjustment or understand, desperate doesn't look good on anybody. It just is not an attractive thing to wear, right?
No.
And understanding where that comes from and how you might be coming across when you think you're just checking for the 20th time that day to be sure that they didn't get hurt or something, is because that must be the reason they haven't responded to you, right? But learning how that comes across, just some of the social skills need tweaked a little bit, right? And yeah, there are a few different things. I think also people that fall in love so quickly, and a lot of times they're not understanding, they're not really falling in love with that person. They have basically taken all their hopes and dreams and thrown them all over
into that person.
And it's you, because you haven't shown me that yet. But
or it could be a rebound situation too, right?
Right. And our vision, you need to heal if it's a rebound. You're not gonna see them in quite the same, you're not gonna be able to appreciate them either in the same way you would, because it's simply a rebound. And if you put all your hopes and dreams on them, you can't let them show you who they really are. And it's like, here, hold my beer.
That's it. All of a sudden, the dream sort of when you realize, that they might chew a certain way and you don't like it, or they leave the seat up or down, or some of those basics that people always talk about.
Right.
Certainly, this vision you have, and so then, what's your advice for people who do? Again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier about expectation. They set up these expectations of who he or she or they should be, and they're basing it on magazines, movies, and television and social media visions of what the
Yeah.
perfect partner would be. And then they realize the partner is actually human. It's not
Right.
not a mannequin upstairs in Macy's.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, there we are also human too. So, we are presenting a very human person,
Right.
human being with flaws to somebody else. So we have to be, the flaws are what I like to think of our flaws as more of our identifying marks. They show, then you know who they are, and some of them are going to be things that you can't live with. If it's something that is like disrespectful to other people or goes against a strong value that you hold, that's obviously not going to be a good fit. But a lot of the things that we think are, is it a superficial something or other? Is it really worth not enjoying the company of this person because of that? My measure is always, does this help? If somebody diminishes who you are going to be,
Hmm.
that's a no-go. If it, in some way, whether you're trying to fit yourself into a box to be the person that they want, something like that, that's a no-go. A person that you want to be, you should both be helping each other to be a better person, to be the person you want to be. Better sounds judgmental, but to be who you want to be helping each other along. And it doesn't mean you're on exactly the same path, but it means at least you're not pulling one another off in directions that you don't want to go. But and forgetting, there was something else in there too that I'd wanted to respond to.
What about when people say, because I've heard mixed commentary on this,
Mhm.
for or against. And some people say that when they are with that other person completes them.
Mm.
Is
I've
that,
heard that too.
yeah, and now my life is complete. I'm completed as a being because I'm with that other person. I've heard some people say absolutely. I've heard some people say no, because then that diminishes you.
I
What's your feeling on that?
I don't even know I don't think it diminishes you, but I think okay, I think you have to be a complete person in order to be with another person in an truly adult way, because otherwise you are seeking for them to, like you say, I guess to complete you, but to fill gaps. And we are responsible for growing our own selves. I think we grow from the experiences and the conversations and all that we have with other people, but I don't think another person can complete us. That's too much responsibility on them. I think they can complement us. I think that they can, with them, we can go in different directions and achieve greater things, enjoy life in a new way that's phenomenal. But I think that comes from us being a complete person too. We need to both be adults. I think one of the big issues in a lot of disjointed relationships is when, things get off balance because one person is maybe doing the adulting for the other. And then say that person grows up a little bit, it throws all the dynamics off, relationship ends. You can't do it that way. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in, not that we're all going to ever get complete in a moment. I mean, it's a process, right? But I think looking for that in somebody else is really going to lessen your possibility of finding it in a real way.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, shouldn't need anyone to complete you. Kathleen Walker says, yeah. And Tess is saying, such a beautiful conversation tonight. Thank you very much. Uh, Karen says, I've never met anybody who completed me yet anyway.
I mean,
Real talk. Love it. Yeah.
well, I think that puts all the responsibility on somebody else to make you happy, when you say that.
Right.
And, I decided, I'm single at this point, and I'm like, finding somebody is not going to make or break my life. It would be nice, but my life is good. And I appreciate that. I've had some great relationships and I'm thankful for that. Um, but you don't, a lot of times I talk about someday living, which people fall into sometimes when they're single, where they're like, everything they want to do and be and enjoy, they put on a shelf for when they have a partner. And life has, actuarial tables or estimates. We don't know
Right.
Your mileage may vary. We have no idea. And that's one thing with my parents dying so quickly as they did. It really, I consider that revelation to be a blessing to me when we talk about repurposing bad things. That was a big message I got, is that, I need to live my life the way I want to live it now, which is why I think I started taking my kids on all those, permit hikes and 14ers and, these adventure hikes that, I had no business. Well, I learned what I needed to learn and we did them. But, you know, I think people should take trips by themselves sometimes. I've done that. And that was a big part. Why would I wait to have somebody to go with if I want to go see something, experience it? It's a different kind of experience, but it can still be a beautiful thing. We should value our own company enough that we can enjoy being with ourselves too. And actually, I have a good time with myself. I enjoy being with other people too, but I will go out and, do my walks. And I don't, sometimes I listen to podcasts, but sometimes I just think through things. And, I did that today to think about what we might be talking about tonight. It's important to spend time with yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Mona says, you have to be happy and love yourself first. And Juanita says you need to be really complete yourself first and be a whole person. And Karen says she likes taking trips by herself or with a friend or two. Thank you for bringing Heather to us. My pleasure, Jennifer. Karen does have a question. What do you think of spouses who don't have friends outside their relationship? It is just the two people. I would go crazy without friends.
Well, and that's what the bubble thing. I think that it can become, it's a lot of pressure on the spouse. And I think, you're going to run out of conversational topics. That's been a big issue right now, just going through COVID. How are you doing? Fine. How are you? What's new? Same stuff. It's important to bring other things into your life so that you can kind of, I don't want to say keep things fresh. That's very trite, but just to allow for other sources of, information and less pressure. I think less pressure is a big part of it. I think when you put it all on one other person, you're asking them to make you happy, basically. And that isn't their responsibility.
Sherry says, wonderful discussion this evening, enjoying how soothing and pleasant your voice is. Heather, just listening makes me feel better.
Well, thank you, Sherry.
Yeah. And that's it, providing a source of comfort and again, celebrating the joys in life and those constants in life, I think, and sharing them with others, whether it is that, friend or it is the spouse or both. It's really, really important.
Yeah. I'm thinking even if it's a spouse and it's just the two of them and even volunteering together takes them into a new, there's more going on there and it takes the focus away from them. Because when you have, I think one of the books I talk about when I call it pressure on the primary. And it's one of the things we do when we're trying to be more efficient in our lives.
Yeah.
But, that puts a lot of, that the spotlight's on them. And when maybe the kids leave the nest and that's all you've got left and you're feeling a little bit, maybe lonely, that your life is quieter, then sometimes the blame starts, because you don't have anybody else to look at.
Right.
And start noticing the little flaws a little bit bigger. They kind of
person that you've been married to all these years is still there, and you have to sort of reintroduce each other to each other. Like, oh, you're still here? Yeah, in a way, because all the emphasis has been on the children.
Right. And so the more that, a couple of people talked about kind of like relaunching their life, having to reinvent, rediscover after kids have left. And I definitely, my kids were a huge part. I still love the mom stuff. It's a different kind of mom situation now, but that was a very, I like playing, and what better way to get to play than have kids, So, but it was definitely a stepping back and discovering that, I did have some other things to offer too, and beginning to tap into that. That was a big, and I will say in my marriage, I think I was very much, we kind of we had some outside friendships, but a lot of the pressure was on each other and taking care of the kids. And then, of course, when my parents died, everything got crazy, and there was a lot of it was a lot of pressure to put in one place. And I think, we both would have, my former husband, I would say that was a big part of what kind of drove us apart. It was a lot of pressure, too much for one or two people to handle alone.
And that happens sometimes too. Then as parents age and you have this whole other thing where you're being torn because of these other things that happen in your life, that is something that can be rough and tough on a relationship as well, right?
Yes, and you know what? I just got a low battery warning on my Mac. I'm going to plug in.
Oh my God. You know what? Every single guest does. You're not alone. You're not alone. So you could do that. No, because they like to see an empty chair. So we'll see that beautiful. Is it a leather couch? There you go.
There you go.
There's your couch. There's your chair. Empty chair, gang.
Pictures on the wall.
Pictures on the wall.
My kids and me. Some of our trips.
This is so. There's your empty chair, gang.
Oh gosh. So my thing is,
I'm gonna do a whole show where I just take clips from the empty chairs. Hi. That's one of the nicer empty chairs. That's a nice full length leather sofa. I mean, that's really, really nice. But
okay, what I now have to do though is I've got an external mic, and I think I'm gonna have to go to my laptop mic. So I may be silent for a moment.
Oh, that's okay. They're enjoying looking at the fire. And Karen says, I'll just read some of these great comments from our lovities and keep them coming in. When I travel with friends or by myself, my sisters-in-law think that's terrible of me to travel and not with my husband. He hates traveling and he is no fun. Those I know, that's something, huh? Those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel at YouTube, Jim Masters TV. Empty chair time, empty chair. They love that. That's funny. I think I should do a whole show on the empty chairs.
So do you hear me now?
Yes, you sound perfect.
Oh, wow. You know what? It was flawless. And I had
a switch of a couple of things, and that was it.
I would love to tell you that I totally knew what I was doing there to make that happen. But I'm like, isn't technology great?
I tell you, it's and if you didn't know it before, you certainly learn it on the fly. Right? You have this book that's really cool.
What's that?
Sandwiches down my shirt: strategies and inspiration for crutch users.
I will tell you. Okay, we're going way back. And actually,
I laugh every time I show one of the books. Like you have certain memories attached to them when you're writing them.
Well, I saw my orthopedic today, surgeon. He just got his second vaccination shot. I was happy to hear, but I have a long history with him. I've had 3 ankle surgeries. 3. Okay, my right ankle has never been a friend. It has just not been on my team my whole life. So I had my first surgery while I was married, and the kids were very small. How small? My youngest was about 4 and thought it was really funny to hide mommy's crutches. That's how small. My second surgery was 8-9 years ago, and my doctor at that point, my ankle was pretty trashed again, and I mean so bad. I mean, we did grafting, and I was a single mom at that point, and I was kind of frightened going into that, and yet I had begun building this friend network by then. So the very cool thing was, I'm seeing my battery sign. That's good. Okay, so the cool thing was that it was actually kind of fun, and I discovered that I liked the problem solving, and that I had kind of found a way to do it and enjoy the process. And so I wrote that book, and that, believe it or not, I also have a YouTube channel, and I have videos on there that I don't have as many followers as you, but I've got some more videos from this last time that I'll put on. But people more than anything want to know it isn't going to be terrible, that they're not going to be forgotten when they go through a situation like this. And you have to live a little creatively. Yes, sandwiches down your knives down your cast, whatever it takes to be able to transport things around, backpack on the back. But that's a very much a how-to thing. And so
So
anyway, Dr.
it's written for, who would you say it's written for? Do you have a person in mind?
Yeah, anybody that it's the lessons are bigger than a specific challenge, actually.
Yeah.
I talk about turning challenges, the challenges are kind of opportunities for achievement, for new achievement, for new, but anybody that is going through a time where they're going to be challenged in like a rehab kind of thing. These videos that we did recently kind of get into some how-to specifics that I think are really helpful. But this book, I'm reading, the ankle thing. Now I got to tell you this last time I had an ankle replacement done in October, which is huge. But they're finally 4th generation, and I love it. And it was the easiest surgery I've had yet. I'm walking easily. I mean, I'll be hiking on mountains again in no time. I'm cleared. So, but yeah, that book is really about how to survive. The biggest fear I hear from people is that they'll be forgotten. They're not even afraid of the pain. They're afraid they're going to be alone.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are people watching right now live, or will watch this on our YouTube channel in the archives, who are alone. What would you say to somebody right now who is going through life, and especially right now with everything we've been dealing with the last several months, alone? And the only thing that they're connecting to right now could be possibly this time with us and the other lovely viewers.
There are a lot of people in that situation out there. And the first thing is that there are a lot of people in that situation. Cigna does a study. I mean, they've started this loneliness report that they've been sharing annually the last 2 or 3 years, 3 years, I think now, maybe longer. But I've been tracking the issue since, 2010. I don't know. It was way back when, and it has gone every year. The number skews higher. People are hurting. People are alone. People think it's their fault, but it is a combination of things. It's this digital reliance we have. It's the opportunity clutter we have in terms of the options that are thrown our way. It's the lifestyle pace this crazy pace we have. So a transition, a surgery, for instance, COVID, we're kind of doing a whole transition thing together, is a world that's very tough for a lot of people. But you add a couple of those things together, it is logical that you get isolated. It is unhealthy though, they talk about the body and the brain, the mental health and the physical impact. But you've got to understand also that it changes the way you see things. So things look worse. They do. And it's not necessarily reflective of the actual situation. If you feel like you're being ignored, a lot of times people just don't see you. And it's very hard to go first and reach out to other people, especially if you feel that way. I kind of had to learn how to go first and to reach out to other people. And that was a big, big thing for me. And now that my life, I kind of tell women, once we have our friends, we can reach out first to other people. And but if you're that person that's waiting and hoping somebody will, you do need to talk to somebody. And even if it's, talking to Jim or talking to me, and getting connected to people that will help you, in your area. There's ways to get connected to other people. I have some suggestions in the one book, but I can get way more specific than that. But understanding, first of all, that's the biggest thing, is it's not necessarily you. It's probably not at all you. I mean, even if you've done things that kind of perpetuated it, and, so many are in that position. The last numbers I was reading is 61% were identified as feeling lonely. And by lonely, it means you don't feel connected and to the people you're with. It doesn't matter how many are around you, that you're not having meaningful conversations. So this is why people are lonely in marriages sometimes. If they're not having meaningful conversations with somebody, they're lonely, because then we want to be understood. And I think I just lost sound in my earbuds.
Can you hear us? Do you hear us?
Oh, I hear you there, but I'm hearing a voice that it's going. I'm going to do, maybe. I'm so sorry. And this is a really important thing I wanted to explain.
No. Yeah, we're here.
Okay. Thank you for being so flexible. I
Ah,
appreciate it, guys.
hey,
My
our
goodness.
laborers are all about balance and harmony, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but now one more thing. I have to find a
Sure.
place to plug it in because I don't have the.
No,
I'll be right back. Okay,
no,
2 empty chairs in 1 episode. Okay.
this is a bonus, folks. You want to see the empty chair again?
Looking.
Nice and peaceful setting, isn't it? There's your. That's not an empty chair. That's an empty sofa, a couch. A bonus for all of you lovities on the Jim Master Show Live. I should do a whole show just with clips from all the different chairs. And
I'm still looking
no,
around.
that's one of the things about live, and I love it. Now it's like,
Okay.
where do we find an outlet? We need an outlet, and
I've got. Okay.
but
I've got.
the empty chair with the fireplace looks so soothing. It looks inviting. Like, come on in, and you
I.
know.
Oh shoot! You know, I just realized as I was running around, you guys saw my pants, which well, maybe.
No, actually, not in this angle. I made sure I kept it.
Oh, okay, thank you. Never mind.
I mean, unless there was something that we
Nothing
were
to see
supposed
here.
to say.
Nothing to see here. We're all good.
Well,
Yeah. Anyhow, okay.
well, a lot of people say these days, because we're in these boxes, we never know if anybody even really has, any of us have pants on, or
I
we
know.
have pajamas or our slippers.
Yeah.
You never really know.
Not quite that bad, but I will confess there was a time I was supposed to meet a friend to go biking after I did a Zoom talk. I wore my bike shorts
Yeah, see?
because I knew I was going biking right afterwards, and there was no sense to.
Oh, you can. Merlin in Canada, in Ontario, says, I live alone and love it, but I have friends and family I can count on anytime I need to as well, which is
Yeah.
good. I mean, sometimes there is that other thing too, I guess, where you've had a number of years where you've been alone, and then you get very set in your ways. And then if somebody does come into your life, that what you've created being alone, that you're actually enjoying, but yet you're craving the person coming into your life, can be a little bit of an issue, because now you have to adjust because you're welcoming this other person in your life, but yet you've been so comfortable in a way alone, right? So there's a little bit of a double-edged situation there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that can be a real challenge when people are dating later in life because, we can get a little rigid. And also it gets in the way of forming friendships sometimes because, we got our patterns, right? We've got our habits and to be flexible, you have to be flexible in order to be open to opportunities, right? So yeah, that's difficult. A lot of times people close themselves off with that. I'm seeing all the messages here. I'm seeing, people feel lonely, but I could be home alone and not feel lonely. That does make sense what Marina's saying there, because you feel connected to yourself, obviously in a good way. And alone doesn't always mean lonely. I need alone time from time to time.
So do I.
There's a term called ambivert, and it's the person that is kind of a combination of extrovert introvert. But because I write, I obviously need some kind of time with me. That's kind of where I process with the writing, but I also process when I talk to other people. So it's just, you need what you need when you need it. That's the thing. It's not like you can have all
extroverted introvert in a way, right?
So, but the whole concept is that's how we recharge. So there are times that you recharge, for me, with other people, talking to people. Like right now, energy, this is good, I'm connecting with you. And then there's other times where I have to get away. And that's like when I'm walking on my bike trail here and thinking in my head, or writing in my chair upstairs and on my computer. So yeah, it's good. I mean, if you know that you need to be alone, you're choosing it and you don't feel lonely. It's when it's unchosen alone time, that's where the loneliness kicks in. And that's one thing, like with this group of women, that gives people options. So then if they decide they don't want to do something, they know they still have that option. So it's a choice, and it's not it doesn't create that lonely feeling. So
exactly.
and you can give yourself those choices. That's the other thing too. when you're talking about people who are alone right now, I actually, gosh, I still think about it. I met a guy at the Home Depot about a month ago, and he shared with me, just, I don't know how it started, but he was, he's older, and his girlfriend was even older yet, and is at risk. He was 74, I think he said, and because he's retail, working retail at Home Depot, they can't see each other, and
Oh, you know what happened? You're muted. Your mic muted. So it probably just clicked on. There you go.
That's, what happened? That was the switch over from the earpiece to that. It just completed itself on its own time. But anyhow, back to Home
Working
Depot.
in retail at Home Depot, and they can't see each other.
Yeah, so they're Zooming and some kind of video chat. But this poor guy, he's telling me, and he's with people all day, right? So and I know that's why it was so important to him for us to have this conversation. But he's not seeing his girlfriend. They're talking on the video, and he says, I'm feeling depressed for the first time in my life, and I don't know what to do with this. And so, we talked some more, and actually I made a point. I've seen him once or twice more, but just knowing his name, that feels good to somebody if you know their name. But I talked about some of the choices he can give himself, so that he doesn't, because he goes home at night, and and it just feels so quiet. And a lot of times when we have a situation we don't like, if we can make choices for ourselves within that, then we can kind of guide ourselves to a better frame of mind. So like for me, if I know I'm feeling a little bit, like it's just not my favorite day, I will fit in a walk, because that always feels good. I will have my ice cream, something like that. I will do something that feels good to me. And I mentioned the time after my grandparents died. After my parents died, and I went the divorce, and it was just a very hard time for me then, going and visiting my grandmas and all the people in the care centers. That made me feel better, because I was doing something for somebody else. I knew something that had value. And if I didn't get anything else done right that day, I knew that one thing was a good thing. So I set those things in my life so that I could find my way back to a happy place. So, it's different for everybody, what that looks like, but to identify those things and to then give those to yourself as choices, then you're creating, a better option, and that's in your control.
Right. Exactly.
A book that you enjoy, something, reading, that's something I love to do. But give yourself permission, you can, it may not be at the normal time.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it in a way that feels good to you, that lets you know that, you're saying, hey, yeah, you are important.
Jennifer Berry in Allentown, Pennsylvania says, find your Zen place. When you're in your Zen place, listen to the good, healing, healthy vibes. You're not alone with Zen. That's nice.
Yeah. Just, okay, see those flowers up there? I get myself flowers because they make me happy. I make my bed every day, not because I'm a nut, but because I like knowing one place. I started this when the kids were small. Now with kids not around so much, my place is usually pretty neat compared to, what it was back then, when I'm like, where'd all the spoons go? But I made my bed back then because everything else was chaos, but that was always nice. And so I gave that to myself. When I'm on crutches, I make my bed because that is so much a part of something I give to myself. So yeah, I was hopping around on one foot making my bed when I was on crutches. So
right.
But it worked for me.
Merlin in Ontario says going to the hairdresser and getting the nails done is her happy place.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Christine Clifton in North Carolina says, I wonder how we will all adjust once things are safe to have outings, gatherings after us all staying in our virtual shows, Zoom, FaceTime, etc. We'll have to learn a new balance of probably both.
Right. I worry because of the self-perpetuating aspect of isolation, of loneliness, that some people are not going to be ready, they're not going to feel equipped to re-engage. And we're going to really need, I mean, people that understand how that works and communities are really going to have to be aggressive in reaching out to these people. Because, you know, I have friends that hibernate. I mean, I know that about them, and I know how long they'll hibernate and when I need to poke them, you know?
So they're actually enjoying it and they feel safe in hibernation.
Well, they do it because, you know, sometimes it's not always safe, but sometimes it's what they're doing, and they just do it for a while. And it's how they process things. Sometimes when they're sad about something, that's how they, you know, deal with it. Or they just don't have the energy. You know, sometimes we all get low on energy. But, you know, it's important that we, when we come out of this, some of these people are going to be, I mean, we all have developed some new habits, right? Hopefully some very good rituals too. There's some things I want to keep from this time that I like now that I didn't do before. But some of the habits, you know, it's easier not to get in your car and drive somewhere to meet somebody, right? I mean, we're going to have to force ourselves to do things that we know are good for us until they feel like they're good again, because making an effort doesn't always feel good. But we're going to have to make an effort. And it is going to be easier just to say, I'll see you on Zoom, or I'll text you. You know, those are easier in terms of the energy expended, but they don't fill you the way we need to be filled.
Juanita says, yes, I do the bed thing as well, making the bed. Merlin does as well, because she lives in one room. That is lovely. So that is, you know, well, those constants, right? Those constants, those habitual things, the habits are important. It's also something that you can control at times when you feel like the world, which a lot of people feel right now, is totally out of control.
Right.
Like they can't control, they turn on the TV and it seems like the world is spiraling out of control. So there are certain things that we can do. We, you know, we can't control everything else, but we can control ourselves and how we respond to things and how we soak things up and you know, share or choose not to share, right?
Right. You know, there's nothing wrong with being your own parent a little bit, you know? It's okay to give permission to, you know, I like to ask myself, does this help me or hurt me? Okay. So when I'm making a choice about something, and I don't always pick help me. There are times, you know, I have frozen mint M&Ms in my freezer, and there are times I'm like,
sounds good.
Oh, they're really good. And there's times I'm like, you know what? It's okay. That's what I want. But, you know, when you ask yourself that question, then you generally at least know what direction you're headed in overall. So you ask yourself those things. Does this help me? Does this hurt me? And if you need to help yourself a little more, you know, like I said, the bike trail, I go out and I look for somebody to say hi to. You know, reaching out to other people is always going to help you. I mean, because it helps them too. We need to remember, I mean, it's a biological need in all of us to have that connection with other people. I mean, this goes back to our ancestors who relied on community for safety. I mean, if they didn't have people around them, they didn't necessarily have, you know, they didn't have shelter, they didn't have protection when they needed it, they wouldn't have food when they needed it. And our bodies still react that same way. That's why this loneliness can become self-perpetuating. It kicks in our fight or flight instinct, all that, you know, the cortisol, the adrenaline, all of that gets going through our bodies. It's a surge. And if you stay there for long, you know, we go on overload. So it feels unsafe to be alone because that's how we perceive it. We perceive social isolation feels just as big of a threat as an actual, like if a stampede of elephants were running at you or something. We process it the same way, and our bodies, our brains react the same way. So if you reach out to somebody else, you know, you are filling a need that they have that's compatible with your own. So they're not doing you a favor to be your friend or say hi to you. You're doing each other a service by acknowledging each other in this world, which is a beautiful thing.
Christopher, who's in Ohio, I think Sylvania, Ohio, he makes his bed every day.
I like this. It's funny.
Giving ourselves, little gifts to help our stress levels. I know that, Cheryl, and you have no idea how much that means. I love you more. That's beautiful. And I think Cheryl Maureen and Cheryl were saying, I love you, Mo. You can always count on me. So there's friendship right there, live on the show. Marsha Lyon, who's a wonderful friend up in Massachusetts. I spent all 3 holidays for the first time in my life in Massachusetts. We were told to only spend the holidays with immediately households only. I decided I would have a good time anyway, and I did. That could be a tough time when it's holiday time where we're used to getting together and we want to get together. And I know there's people who we didn't. We chose, because we would have had to have traveled to Florida and a lot of family and everything. So everybody said, you know what, we'll stay connected in other ways, but it's better to be safe than possibly sorry. So the driving or the flying, whatever. So we're going to get together, this year, hopefully sooner, but that could be tough, right? That could be tough.
Yeah. And I remember, there were early on, my former husband and I have been very good about, I think we let the kids kind of, we share pretty readily. We've always done that between, just because we wanted the kids to do well on everything. But there were a couple holidays that I did I remember some Thanksgivings by myself, and, learning to navigate that. And then just, if you've been, one of the big things I think I found going forward from that time was to create some new traditions, that's again, a part of kind of just creating your happiness, finding out what really is going to be meaningful and making that a part of your life in a significant way. So, the kids and I created some new traditions together. I've created some new things for myself, period. Like I always go out and do something like used to be running until the ankle got a couple of years ago. I've had to give up that. And but I go out and walk like on any, most days, period, but like on a Christmas or Thanksgiving or whenever. And like when my kids were spending time with their dad this year, I meet a friend and we walk. You find people that are in a similar situation. So.
You do, right? Exactly. Sometimes you said something earlier, like sometimes you don't know what the other person is going through, because everybody is going through something.
Yeah.
There's always something that makes people worry or they're concerned about. Nothing is perfect. And sometimes we forget that. And there is a lot of, it's tough because, you and I, we talked a little bit about it before we went live on the air, but there is a lot of divisiveness and hatred and anger and just a lot of venom in the air everywhere, no matter what the topic is. Doesn't have to be even politics. Just a lot of people are just already pent up, ready to fight on the offense for just about anything these days. And that can translate into your friendships, your loving relationships, your dealing with your colleagues at work, taking in some of that negativity that the world is bringing in. You've got to learn to find a way to shut that, be aware of it, be cognizant that it's going on, because maybe there's information that's important that you need to know. But at the same time, not absorb it all in where you get all hateful and angry and divisive, and then your whole life is filled with all these negative relationships, right?
Right. I think the real difficulty has been that there's obviously been an issue with not having our normal release valves, and we haven't gotten to see these people that are antagonized, like maybe a neighbor who is very contrary. You're not getting to see them in other circumstances right now. Like you might have been at, a block party or a soccer game or something, and you'd say, oh, well, he was just that's just him. And, our perspective and our stamina are just so low right now.
Yeah.
And we've got to understand it's the same way for everybody. We're all coming, these big, momentous decisions and conversations we want to have. We should be coming into those like well-rested and, just totally balanced. It's harder to do that now.
Right.
We've, I think because there's been so much available in terms of the digital, and you can read any kind of bit of information you want. It's a lot to process, and we tend to choose our own little rabbit holes. And that comes at a big cost, because we lose the broader understanding we need in order to find our commonalities with some of these other people that look so different than us. but probably still, care a lot about their grandma or their child, or, we share some things still. I guess it's just, it comes out differently. I think about, in terms of simple things like financial security, not simple, but financial security. For some people, that means no floor. I'm sorry, it means having a floor. And for others, it means having no ceiling. And those look different. I mean, maybe both are tied to financial security, but they look different to different people. So those are the kinds of things we have to begin to understand and kind of make adjustments. We'll always do better if we collaborate. I firmly believe that. I would hate for one party to be in charge of anything in my life, because we get value from the perspectives of so many other, we need everybody's ideas.
Exactly. And input. Exactly. I also think a sense of humor is essential. You got to have some levity. You've got to be able to laugh at certain things, including yourself. Look for the funny moments, look for the moments that seem crazy, and laugh at them, because, laughter is really an incredible medicine, releasing those endorphins, those feel-good hormones. Laughter, I think, is essential, and compromise is also. Those two things make life go a lot smoother, and the earth spin on its axis a lot smoother too. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I think, when fuses are short, we get, people get competitive about the wrong things. And, I've seen a lot of people trying to convince, and, and I mentioned earlier about, we've moved more towards communication rather than conversation.
Right.
And conversation means pausing and being ready to absorb a little bit too, to take it back and allow yourself a pliable brain, that things aren't totally set in place, that you've got room for new ideas, and to maybe adjust a little bit based on the information that you take in. But, a lot of times, that's where the arguing, comes in. There's an aggression in there that's uncomfortable, because there isn't a desire to understand. And we need to develop that, a stronger sense of curiosity about why somebody feels the way they do.
Right. You can't just surround yourself with the voices that just reinforce your thoughts or beliefs. You have to, the world is made up of all different thoughts and cultures and people, and that's how the world was created. We were meant to be together, not meant to be apart, right?
There's value in that. And I think, I look at the way we've been right now, and it's like, it's very dysfunctional. We've got to find a way to make it functional again. And I think of, a bad divorce or something, where you've got parents that have to learn to co-parent again. They have to learn maybe to do it for the first time, but they have to co-parent, because we've still got this country to take care of. We've got next generations. So we've got to find a way to come together and make good choices together for the greater good. And I know greater good is thrown around. So greater good means whatever I want it to mean this week, but it needs to be with an open heart towards everybody. And I hope that we can get back there again. I believe we can. I think there's enough people that really care about not just themselves, that we can get there. And that's what we can take.
We have to sort of pick ourselves up and be moving forward. Case in point, pick up in aisle 12. Wasn't that a great segue?
That was really good. Okay. This was where
levity.
Yes, exactly.
I love your reactions to the books.
Thank you. You're bringing back stuff. I'm like, this was where I started to get brave. And I've got to say, as I've written more and more, I started writing out, I wrote articles like travel and business, and I did advice columns. And then I was like, I'd always written stories and that kind of thing.
And I'm guessing that this shot was pre-ankle surgery.
That is not my ankle. But I wrote this. I actually have like 2 more that were supposed to go with this, and I'm like halfway through the second one, and then the surgery happened, and I moved on. life happens. But it was a Kindle single I wrote, and it's funny. I'm not just saying I hear that. And I began, life was, speaking of laughing your way through, this was beginning to date, and I kind of fictionalized some things and drew in stories of others. And Pick Up in Aisle 12 refers to a very real incident that happened in my life. I was at a Walmart on my way somewhere, looking a little nicer than I usually do when I grocery shop, and somebody tried to pick me up.
In aisle 12.
It was in the bread aisle, and I remember just being shocked by that. And I was at the and these all these feelings and voices that are going through my head. And
what did he say? He was just loafing around in the bread aisle?
Here you go. That would have been a good line. That would have been a very good line. But he met me again at the checkout. I mean, he was there standing at the end of the line. And this is when I was very much not confident. The biggest embarrassment to me in the world was that we were holding up the line, because he was standing me, and there's people waiting, and then
waiting.
So he gives me his card. And of course, not wanting to embarrass him, I carried it all the way out to the parking lot, and then I threw it away. But but I mean, I felt for him. I thought, that's really
sorry, Walter.
But here's the funny thing. I'm thinking he did that because he knows, what are the odds he'll ever run into me again? What a brave man. What a great thing to do.
Yeah.
But like 2 months later, I'm in Kroger, which is one of our grocery stores here. Mm-hmm. I'm in the produce section this time, and this man looks at me. We make eye contact, and we're like, I know you from somewhere. And then I got it first. Then he got it. It was the same guy, and he was headed over again. So I kind of ran to dairy at that point. So I had to write about it.
He didn't give you the card again, did he?
He didn't catch me. But
I ran to dairy.
Yeah.
Push that card.
And it just, I began to see the humor and all that. And there's a lot of funny stories, and and that's why. And so as I moved along, then I moved from fictionalized things into more. I got braver and braver and started writing about what was, in my own life, I guess, in a big way. But I do want to write fiction again, because I love humor. I love to laugh. So.
Yeah, it's important to write. It's important because life can get really crazy sometimes. And there are, I know they say there's a lot of people, you were alluding to it a little bit, who, and especially children too. Children right now, I feel so bad for a lot of the children. I keep saying, gee, I'm glad I was a kid when I was a kid, because we were allowed to be a kid. We went outside playing. We're in our swimming pool. We did our homework, and then we were out and doing our thing, hide and seek, and all these different things we did. And now kids are seeing how all the adults are acting, and how all the adults are tearing each other apart, and the things that the adults are doing. And they're cooped up inside, and their school is open, and then the school is closed, and you can't go to the park, you can't do anything. And just the verbal venom sometimes, not only in what's going on now, but sometimes kids soak that in when their parents are talking that way to each other, in ways that are hurtful to, the spouse or the partner. So I always say, when I see things that are happening that are horrific, the kids are watching. The kids are watching. It's affecting the kids, and they will take that with them, and it'll affect them in ways that can be very negative. I mean, a 9-year-old child that's turning on the television and seeing everything, virtually on fire, can be really daunting. So what would you say to folks watching right now who have concerns for the kids too that are watching?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of parents yesterday that were, and I said something about the TV, and they're like, it's really difficult to keep that away from them at this point. But just really staying in the moment with them and explaining that this isn't normal. I mean, we can't, we talked about the things we've walked forth into adulthood with that was misinformation. We formed all that in the midst of whatever was going on in our lives. So it's really our responsibility to, as much as we're able to protect those that shouldn't see some of this quite yet, we need to do that. And then we need to, explain that people sometimes don't have the tools that they need to express themselves in an appropriate way. And that we talk then maybe about the better way to handle disagreements, and when the importance of really respecting the opinions and the lives of other people. And that means that we can respect them even when they're different, especially because they're different than us sometimes. But we cannot normalize it ever, and we need to be aghast at it. I mean, we need them to see our disappointment in the way that other people are behaving, because I think that more than anything shows that this isn't a normal thing.
Exactly. Prayers for all the children and Marcia's alliances. I was able to do that because I realized we always have a choice, and sometimes it's only the choice of attitude. I choose to be happy and have a good day. I was creative and connected with family and friends, and I think that's, again, really important. And Christopher says, when in doubt, run to dairy.
Yes.
Have you had to do that too, Christopher? At Kroger there in Ohio? Tell us about some of the incredible things that you're working on too. You have this this fabulous cabinet coaches. What is that all about, that coaching practice?
Well, that is it's been an access point for women. And it was disappointing. At the beginning of last year, we formed a board to kind of take us to incorporate things in a more, we had a vision for some things we want to develop, and then COVID hit. So we kind of had to put some of that on hold. But this has been going on since, I think I started in 2013, September. Mm-hmm. And it has legs. We've had it for a lot of years, and it's brought in some people have moved on from there. It was funny. One of the women moved to Nashville, Tennessee a few years ago. And then one of my sorority sisters from college ended up down there this past year. And those two connected up. It was just because, it was really kind of cool that, because the one moved in and didn't really know anybody, and then, friendships. So I think that we all have, there's the hope to take this to other places. I want other women, and, I'd love for men to do something similar, because men certainly share the same issue. They talk to me about it. I don't think I'm necessarily the one to fix it, but I can advise, help a group of men get started. But the need is there for all of us. And if we don't have that access point, then we wither. I mean, and our children do not do as well, because they're worried about mom. One of the really touching, and I think I put this in that one of the books, the Friendship Upgrade, but one of the kids, an adult child, said how wonderful it was to see his mom connected to people again. They do worry about us if we're not, when they see us making choices that aren't good for us. So the whole thing with that, there are a few different pieces that I put into one or two of the chapters in there that really were fundamental. And, in terms of getting something like that going, the consistency is important. And I had a really hard time with that, to commit myself to a regular Wednesday night thing was huge, because I am not a joiner. I don't do exercise classes. I do things on my schedule, because I freelance. My life has been, entrepreneurial. I have my own schedule a lot of times. I have projects that come up, but I committed there. And that's what it takes, because sometimes women would hear about this. I wish I had a card here. We have blue cards too, that we would give them with information to people. And that may be a year or two till they would even show up on a Wednesday, because it takes that long to get all the excuses out of the way, and to actually walk into somewhere you don't know people and make that vulnerable choice. And rarely do people regret coming to something like, everybody loves it. But having that there all the time meant that it was always available. I didn't ever want a woman to decide to come and find out that there was nothing going on that day, because who knows when that's going to hit again, right?
Right. That's true.
Yeah. And then another choice I made with that was doing happy hours. And it wasn't because of the alcohol, it was because the food is also cheap then, because I wanted to be accessible to everybody wherever they are in life. right? And then locations that are easy to get to too. So it means we don't always do it over here or over there, one end of town, but to rotate it. And I have women that have been helping me then to set those up different and kind of close to the, most of the time close to the big outer belt, so that it's accessible for people to get to without too much effort. But really, creating that in a way that people can get to it, building that access point, but then also having the bridges in place that they can, that they can get there. And then really, as it went on, I kind of called it a light touch leadership, but kind of keeping the vibe at the right place, but not micromanaging, really on a lot of it. You really need to let things develop as they will. And, people have to come into that with the idea that, we share friends. It's not come and find a friend and it's mine. It's about sharing. And that means that we become confident in who we are. Our friend may go do something with somebody different, and that's good. I mean, that's the way life's supposed to be. I'm reading about the kids here again too. Oh my goodness. Washing our hands to the point of bleeding. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Our kids are hearing a lot of different things. I shouldn't be reading this at the same time. I'm not very good at doing two things at once. I'm not a great multitasker.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Oh,
You're doing very well.
I laugh because, with the efficiency thing I mentioned, we're supposed to, we think that we're like really great at multitasking and all that, right? And, I think we've learned that evidence shows that we are not so good at it. But that's how we've disconnected ourselves. And, we're with people, but we're not always with them because we're multitasking. So obviously what I'm reading there, disconnect from what I was talking about the moment before, but, that's how it works. That's our brains can only fly so fast.
It is true. It is true. Chris says that he does aerobics classes 4 times a week. Great to limit stress and increase flexibility, which is really, because you were talking about you're not necessarily a joiner when it comes to certain things because of your, the schedule, and you have to, pick up and run and do this and do that. And to commit to something that is ongoing and consistent can be really tough. Right.
To do that. Right. But yeah, and I've occasionally done that. And I love to, we'll meet friends to, the bike riding or the hiking, that kind of thing. But yeah, to commit to an every Wednesday thing for years was a big challenge for me. But yeah, I love, the water. That's good. I mean, anything that when we are taking care of our bodies, we're taking care of the rest of ourselves. I mean, our brains too. That's really good for mental health. So, taking even a little step forward on one of your goals. It doesn't have to be a huge step. Like if you want to, as we're going through this particularly, you want to be healthier, but you don't want to, maybe you don't have a water aerobics class to go to or something, but just getting up and walking around so many times a day, that's something.
Very important.
Be happy with something, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to a friend early on, because we were like, we're in our places and we're not out doing things as much. How are we going to get our steps in? And we were laughing because, it's like doing the laundry. It's like pair one pair of socks together, go put it away, come back and do another, but just ways to build more into our days, So, we can solve our problems in whatever way seems best for us, right?
Exactly right. Sometimes you have to do what feels good and feels right to you and to your heart and soul, right?
Yeah. No, I do. The water sounds really good. I actually want to do some swimming for my ankle rehab.
Yeah.
Try in a saltwater pool.
Absolutely.
It's hard on curly hair, so it's rough.
That's it. So, what are some of the things that bring you great joy and blessing that you turn to in your life that continue to inspire you to want to inspire others in the way that you do so beautifully, Heather?
Well, thank you for that. My biggest things. I obviously love the outdoor time. That's just very huge to me. I love my adult kids are amazing inspirations to me. I love time together with them. I remember telling my oldest a few years ago how cool it was that we hang out when he doesn't really have to anymore. And he's like, oh, really? I said, it's not me. He's like, really? But no, I appreciate that so much. I appreciate all the relationships that I'm lucky to have in my life. Those are big. And I love, we all need to have some kind of purpose in our lives. And I do feel pretty strongly, it would be difficult to look back at some of the things that I've gone through if I didn't see the way I'm able to use them now. I mean, that's huge. And I'm more worried than anything that I'll just run out of time with all the things that I see that, you see the needs and we all see different things. We all have different gifts. And if I have a gift that I think will help this situation, I feel like I will have, I really want to fulfill that. I feel it's a responsibility in a lot of ways.
It's so true. It really, really is. And you're doing it beautifully. You really are. I think you're living your dream and you're living your bliss. And this desire to want to inspire and encourage and empower people in the way that you do. I'm sure when you get the feedback from folks who've read the books or have been involved in the coaching and other services, it really motivates and inspires you to continue with it, because it's sort of a full circle situation. As you inspire others, you're being lifted and inspired as well, right?
Yeah, I learn from everything. I mean, I love that I can learn from anybody I talk to. I mean, my life is so limited. I mean, I look at it, and like I said, I'm worried I'll run out of time. So I value each conversation. That's a whole other direction that I won't get there. But that's a whole channel of information. It's like this web that we get to tap into all these places. I want to travel everywhere. I'm trying, but I probably won't. But I can talk to people that live in those places and that have been to those places. And vicariously is good too. I mean, you get information from that. So, and I love to see the successes of other people. It thrills me to see people, especially with my kids, but everybody, when you see them, they're women that I've seen in this group that started with very little confidence and that now have like blasted into their own universe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's thrilling to see people when they see in themselves what you've seen there before. Sometimes we just need somebody to point to it and say, it's there. I see it.
Right.
You're not imagining it. It's real.
Exactly.
Whack-a-mole on ourselves, we like knock ourselves down and we need to be encouraged. Sometimes that's all we need, one little word of encouragement. Sometimes that makes all the difference. And to be that voice to people, what a privilege, all of us get to do that.
What would be a word or two of encouragement you would have for somebody watching live right now or who watches this later in the archives, who's going through a dark period in their life right now through everything that we've all been experiencing collectively, but maybe there's some additional trials and tribulations that are happening in their life and they feel as though they'll never get out of it. They'll never sort of get in touch with that essence of themselves that they once had, and that opportunity to reignite that flame of passion and desire and excitement and thirst for life that they used to have as well. And they are almost giving up and giving in and retreating. What would you say as far as a piece of advice for them?
You've described a very familiar place to me. I remember lying in my bed and wishing I could just sink down through the floor. And it was a horrible time. It was a really horrible time. The things that pulled me forward, I think I was always curious about what good might happen, and good things do happen. And I think, it's easy to forget that when you're in the middle there, and sometimes you need to tap back to the place where maybe there was a place sometime where you felt like you knew yourself. For me, that was way back when, but I knew who I was then. And I knew that person was still somewhere within here. And I began trying to find that again, because we really have that core element with us through our whole lives. That's the crazy thing. I remember sitting with my grandma before she died. She was like 95. And realizing that that little girl was still right there in her. And that was kind of a thrilling, reassuring thing to realize that we carry that with us that whole way. We add to it, we grow in new ways, but that's still there. So looking for that place within you, and looking for where you can help somebody else. And I know when you feel depleted, that's difficult, but that's a way to begin connecting. And it also will remind you that that you have something of value to offer to other people. Sometimes we need to remember that. But it's important not to get sucked into that totally, where all you're doing is for other people and not for yourself. But write down, begin writing down some of the things that you're feeling. Take them to somebody that can help you sort through them. The telemedicine makes therapy an easier option these days. And it's important to be curious, stoke that curiosity and look for the good things. Don't let yourself get swirled down into the negative things on the news and in the social media. Get yourself outdoors, say hi to people, and begin to, take those little teeny steps, because they're not small steps if they take you forward in any way. And, if I look at where I was a few years ago compared to now, I mean, people sometimes think that I've lived this charmed life, and I laugh because I wouldn't recognize I was a different person. And, the change happened. It didn't happen immediately, but it was a lot of little steps, and it was a lot of me being curious and a lot of me just beginning to respect more and expect more, not in an overbearing way, but in a hopeful way. So, and please just reach out. That's what I would, more than anything. Nobody needs to do life alone. Nobody should do life alone. We're not made for that. And I know each of us has something special to offer that's of value to other people.
Exactly right. Why does doing this work bring you such great blessing and joy in your life, Heather?
I mean, why does it? I love to see people reach new places. I feel so lucky, to have landed on my feet again. I feel so lucky. And I feel fortunate for all the places I've gotten to go and visit, and the people I've gotten to meet, the experiences. I've had so many weird, wonderful experiences, things I wouldn't have dreamed of. And I love seeing other people begin to see their possibilities and not be afraid. When we're afraid, we cut off so much from ourselves.
Yeah, right.
And helping other people not be afraid I see that as kind of like, that's the, teach a man to fish thing.
Right.
Because I know they will teach other people. It goes on and on. So
pay it forward. Exactly.
There will be an end to Heather, but, hopefully each of us has put something cool into the world to go on on beyond us. Anyhow.
Jennifer Barry in Allentown, Pennsylvania says, Jim and Heather, thank you both so much. Jen is Zen. Juanita in South Africa. It was an interesting and inspiring conversation. Thank you, Heather, for spending time and sharing your stories and insights with us. Mary Bishop in Florida. It was wonderful to meet you, Heather. Thank you for all of your words of wisdom. Kathleen Walker in New York City, the wonderful prayer signs. And Christopher Joseph there in Ohio says, tonight's interview has been a therapy session for all lovities.
Can I encourage people to reach out to? I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram.
There's your website too, right?
HeatherDuganAuthor.com. Yes, HeatherDuganAuthor.com. And YouTube. So I'd love to connect. So
all the usual suspect places, right? Mm-hmm. Bernadette says, Heather, thank you for speaking to us with such insight and clarity. We appreciate you. And
thank you.
Talk nice to both of your ankles.
They're on my side now.
They're on your side.
We're a team again.
That's fantastic. I love that. Really wonderful. And again, when you get a chance to inspire people in the way that I know you like to and I like to, it really is a full circle experience, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, is there anything better really. I mean, no.
What is on the horizon for you? Do you have some other exciting things you're working on coming up?
Yeah, well, I'm finishing these workbooks I mentioned. I'm hoping that I will, and I'm working on this next book that I mentioned too, the How to Be Happy While Human. Fiction as well for fun. That's how I did. That's my downtime. Hoping to do some live. I love to get out and meet people and do the talks and the workshops and that kind of
Speaking
thing.
engagements, and
Right,
you can
right.
go back out and do those again,
I'm
right?
hoping that will come together. I have a I have a booking for May. We'll see.
Have
Everything.
you done a TED Talk yet?
I haven't. No,
But
I
you
would
would
like
like
to
to,
do
right?
that.
Yeah,
That's definitely a goal.
those are great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I want to travel some more with my kids this year.
Very nice. That's all beautiful stuff. While you continue to inspire, and we encourage folks to go to heatherdugan.com. You can see the spelling there, HEATHER.
I would go to the author site because that one will send you to the other, heatherduganauthor.com.
So add an author, Heather Dugan author, AUTHOR.
Right.
Oh,
And probably do a switch at some point, but I spent a lot of time doing voiceover work, et cetera, for years. And I still
sure.
do some. I voiced Friendship Upgrade. By the way, if you like book on tape, the Friendship Upgrade is also on tape by me.
So you do the audiobooks.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Isn't that a lot of fun doing audiobooks?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was different to do my own. It was great. I was a lot more, I'm meticulous anyways on stuff like work, but
Yeah,
not
me too. Me too.
my own words.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. You're very pleasant to listen to. Thank you, Heather, from Merlin in Ontario, Canada. Mona, this show has saved me. I've met some people on here since COVID. So nice to watch this show live and have some great guests like you. I've enjoyed listening to you and Jim and everyone's comments. I appreciate Jim and your time and everyone who has been here tonight. Great people. Thank you very much, Mona. We really appreciate that. Bernadette says teamwork makes the dream work. I
Good.
believe that. And Jennifer says, I wish Zen to you all, Jim and Heather, and Lovities. Jen is Zen.
Jen.
Heather, this was really a delight and a treat. And I think we really talked about so many incredible topics that are relevant, that can be life-changing for people, and just understanding maybe a different perspective, and maybe as that mirror is before us, to really love and appreciate what is before us, and then share that love and that or lovity with those around us. Be open to new ideas and fresh expressions and perspectives, and that could be somebody else in your life that comes into your life. That could be a joyous thing. And I think we've touched upon so many wonderful things about why you do what you do and the love of the work. And of course, you have all the credentials and the years put in and the skill set. But the fact that you do it is a reflection, and why you do it so well is a reflection of the person that's really in here. I think you and I are very blessed because we do work in our respective careers, which are very similar, where we have similar threads, not just the green favorite color, September 24th birth date, and both Libras. I think we were destined to do this kind of work, but we have similar ways of thinking about people and how we approach life, and how we treat others and how we wish to be treated. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So you're doing exemplary work, and I hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you and all the Lovities, and that the show met whatever, going back to the word expectation, any expectations that you had as well.
Thank you so much for sharing this with me tonight. I appreciate you welcoming me in. This has been wonderful. And anytime, I enjoyed your group.
Oh,
And Jim, your master, literally.
good last name, right? Living up to the family name, Masters. We try to create a warm environment here. And like I said, that, I don't even look at these as interviews. These are conversations. There's nothing scripted, no teleprompter, no pre-produced questions. We let it roll, and whatever happens, happens. And it's authentic. And that's the other thing too, is living your true authentic self, right? That's really important.
If you're not connected to yourself, you can't connect to other people. So that's primary. You're right.
Bernadette says, stay safe and stay well. Marsha Lyons says, Jim and Heather, thank you for an insightful, positive evening. Sending levity to you both. We appreciate that. Christine in North Carolina. Thanks, Jim and Heather, for this inspirational evening. I've really been sad these weeks with our country situation, COVID surge, losing friends. So tonight was just the right mental medicine. This is really nice. Kathy Short in Cleveland. This chat has been great, Heather and Jim. So many good points. Kathleen in New York City. This was a great conversation. Thank you, Heather and Jim. Thanks for all the great levity, our viewers. And again, thanks for joining us. Heather, you're welcome back to the show anytime. I would love to have you back as you're working on new exciting things. And it was really an honor and a pleasure to have you here on our show today.
Thank you, Jim. Again, appreciate it very much, and wonderful to get to talk with you tonight.
You as well. You take care. You stay safe. You be well, and you keep inspiring others, as I know you love to do. Fellow Libra.
Until next time.
We'll have to make sure we do an episode together on September 24th.
That works. Okay.
Big cake for all.
All right.
Have a good night. Bye-bye. That's Heather Dugan. Now, if you're going to go to check her out, her website, heatherduganauthor.com. Make sure you put the author in there. She's amazing. And again, another wonderful guest celebrated here on the Jim Masters Show Live. And as we said, this is a talk show, so we have all kinds of different guests from all fields of endeavor, wealths of experience and success. And this was a really fun show and a very inspiring and uplifting show as well, right? And I love shows like this as well, because we get a chance to really talk about those things that matter most in life and getting through, the trials and tribulations and the annoyances, the frustrations, but also celebrate some of the beautiful things in life, which are truly all around us. And sometimes we get so bogged down with moving forward and ahead that we forget to stop and smell the coffee, and we forget to breathe, and we forget to relax and stay connected. And that's what we do here on our show every single day through the various forms, whether it's entertainment, inspiring conversation, levity, no matter what the theme of the show is or the format or whatever it is we're talking about or celebrating on a given episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. It's something that hopefully leaves you fulfilled, satisfied. I know it does me oftentimes, especially when I go back and I binge watch these episodes and I see some of the cool things that we've talked about and that we've shared with everybody. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and our wonderful guest, Heather Dugan. Again, her website is heatherduganauthor.com. I also want to thank her for being my special guest on the show. She was all excited to be here. She's been watching the episodes. A lot of our guests love to watch the episodes of the show. The various books we showed along the way, and she had various, and there's more, of course, a lot more than just what we showed tonight. But we do thank Heather for joining us here on the Jim Masters Show Live. It was an honor and a pleasure. And I want to let you know, tomorrow night, you're going to be laughing. Levity will abound as comedian and actor Josh Hyman is going to be here. That's right, Tuesday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Josh is all excited. Josh will be here tomorrow. Again, he's a brilliant comedian, very funny, and actor. He's going to be here live, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page at Jim Masters TV as well. If you missed this episode, like to see it again, you can see it on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. So Josh is here tomorrow, and we are really looking forward to that. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. Really, really looking forward to that. And also coming up this week is Jeffrey Sweet. He's a legendary playwright. He's also a songwriter and a brilliant writer. He's going to be with us this week as well on the Jim Masters Show Live. You can see all of these on our events page on YouTube, all listed there, the dates and times and everything, also on the Facebook page. Also, David Shenton is going to be here, brilliant entertainer, Grammy-winning. He's unbelievable. This guy is just really, I tell you, he's a wonderful pianist, violinist, and he's just an all-around entertainer, an arranger. We're going to have a lot of fun with him this week. He is amazing. David Shenton is going to be with us, pianist, violinist, composer, arranger. Also coming up on Saturday, this is the Grammy-winning composer and arranger and pianist, John Prue. He's going to be with us Saturday, it's going to be amazing. Saturday Night Live is going to be incredible. Grammy-winning composer and arranger, musician, pianist. He's worked with some of the greatest in the business. He's going to be here on Saturday night. We look forward to that. Saturday afternoon, French and Greek singer George Paris is going to be with us live from Athens, Greece. That's at a special time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. in Greece. That's on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. He's a brilliant singer. He's had public television specials. He's going to be here this coming Saturday as well. So Saturday is going to be George Paris. And then on Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, is Grammy-winning composer, arranger, and pianist John Prue. He's going to be here on Saturday night. So 2 shows this Saturday. Then on Sunday, Ireland's leading country music singer, the very popular Nathan Carter, is going to be here on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, 8 p.m. in Ireland, England, and Scotland. That's going to be on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Looking forward to that. Also, to let you know, we have some other exciting announcements coming up in just a couple of weeks. Anson Williams, who played Potsy on Happy Days, the very popular series Happy Days, he's going to be with us in just about 2 weeks here on the Jim Masters Show Live. Look for that. That'll be on our YouTube channel as well. And you can find the dates to everything on our pages. So look for that. Anson Williams, again, you may remember him on Happy Days, but of course he's done so many other movies and shows and projects. So we're looking forward to that. And also, Rebecca Harkin is going to be with us. She's going to be with us on Tuesday, January 26th. That's going to be at a very special time. That's going to be 8 p.m. as opposed to our regular time of 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And the reason why we're doing it at 8, because she's in Australia right now. She's from Ireland. She is the sister of Keith Harkin, who you know, of course, was a guest on our show. He's a great friend. And Keith, of course, was with Celtic Thunder. He has a brilliant career. She is also an amazing singer and songwriter in her own right, very popular Irish pop star. And she's in Australia right now. And she's amazing. And Rebecca Harkin is going to be here on Tuesday, January 26th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and it'll be noon, 12 p.m. in Australia. That's why we're doing it at 8 p.m. So it'll be noon for her in Australia, not too early, not too late. So we'll announce that again, but just announced today that Rebecca Harkin, very popular. A lot of you have asked for Rebecca to be on the show. Brilliant Irish singer-songwriter. She will be here live from Australia, coming up on the 26th. And this is just a few of the guests. This is just a few of the amazing conversations and all kinds of incredible things we have coming up. And I just want to say again, I really, really appreciate those words you said, Mona, about our show and how the show you feel has saved you. And I just want to thank you as well, Mona. I opened up the box with all those Cajun seasonings and the coffees and all those beautiful goodies from Louisiana, from New Orleans. Thank you very much. We're going to put all of those cool things, the seasonings and the spices and the coffees that you sent with love from Louisiana to us here. That's a very beautiful thing to have done, Mona. We appreciate that. We opened up the box today and we're smiling from ear to ear. Really was a beautiful thing. So thank you very much. We're going to be putting all of that to good use. And Renee, those Muddy Buddies and the Chex Mix and all that you sent from Iowa, it's all gone. And Kathleen Walker, all those handmade chocolates, long gone. And Tesla Bella, all those fresh baked cookies, long gone. And Christine Clifton, the cookbook, we've been cooking with that as well. And Ann Wozniak, the cookbook as well. And the pecans, chocolate covered pecans, long gone. And let's see, who else? Mary Bishop, of course, with the mug from Pine Island, Florida, which we are using a lot now. And all the candies that were inside are long gone. But those other beautiful gifts that you sent, representing the ocean and Pine Island were very beautiful. The books and the plaques and all the other gifts were just very beautiful. And we thank you very much for that. All of you, just beautiful, beautiful people. I thank you very much for all of it. And Kathleen, this was a great conversation. Thank you, Heather and Jim. It is my pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And this chat has been great, Heather and Jim. So many good points, according to Kathy Short in Cleveland. Our pleasure as well. And that's, again, those words are so beautiful. I really appreciate that. And really, really, really nice. And more comments coming in here. Good night, Jim, and good night, everyone watching. Please stay safe and be well. You as well, Bernadette. Thanks for the beautiful emojis, Kathleen. You're welcome. Hope you enjoy it. We absolutely do. And thank you again, Mona. Very, very beautiful of you to send those goodies along our way. Really, really some tasty stuff in there. All those Cajun spices and everything. We're going to love using all of that. Thanks for doing that too. And let's see, what else do we have here? Well, first, of course, before we take a look at the other comments, I want to tell you something we always tell you, and that is to make sure that you smile, right? We've talked a lot about that tonight, right? Smiling and making sure that you share the smile with others, because smiling and laughter, the levity is very contagious. So even if you don't feel like smiling, and of course, I know every day it's not a day where we want to smile, and there's been a lot of crazy things going on. We're in a real interesting time right now with everything that's going on in the news. Be safe, everybody. Hold on to each other. You know, obviously we can't do that physically, but you know what I mean. Hold on and let's celebrate some positivity, because we're in for a tough road a little bit. Share the levity. That's what we're trying to do. Come heck or high water. Share the levity as much as you can. Have a good time, live your life, and cherish those moments that are important. Find your Zen place. Mine is the ocean. And of course, with loving family and friends, writing, tennis, music, you know, with family and friends, that time is the most precious. Of course, my work in television and radio and multimedia and stage and everything is, I mentioned it as another Zen place for me, getting a chance to communicate through television and radio and multimedia and all the places I've had an opportunity to do it with my wonderful people over the years. That is another Zen place for me as well. And I hope you find your Zen place. Maureen says, I feel so blessed to be a levity. Thank you, everyone, especially Jim, for making this such a warm place to land at the end of the day. My pleasure, Maureen. I'm so happy to hear that. Mona says, my cousin makes those spices. Oh, your cousin makes the spices? If you like them, let me know. I'll send more. Wow, I appreciate that. Thank your cousin as well. Absolutely. You're welcome, Jim. My pleasure. Good night, Jim, and my levity friends, Mary Bishop in Pine Island, Florida, which is over towards beautiful Captiva. You enjoy. Merlin, thank you very much. Double smiles from Merlin in Ontario. And as Maureen says, she feels blessed to be a levity. Tess agrees. Maureen, you're so right. She feels blessed to be a levity. Well, we are blessed to have all of you as levities as well. You guys are amazing. So we've got some really amazing guests. Good night, Jim and levities. It's been another wonderful night in Levity Hall with all of you. Please stay safe. You as well. And you take care, Sherry and Tess. Good night to you all. Mr. Levity, who are so very special to all of us. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You as well, Tess. Hey, Jim, look at my profile photo. That's my grand kitty, Smokey. Oh, yeah. Cute. I know I'm looking over here, but you're seeing it over there, right? Everything is flipped here. So if I'm looking at it there and I see the kitty, but you see the kitty over here, right? I think I can actually touch the kitty. Cute. Really, really nice. And good night, levities watching on our YouTube channel. I agree. Thank you very much. You two guys too. Tess Labellis says, thank you very much for such a beautiful evening. I feel light and peaceful, Jim. I feel so blessed to have been here tonight. Heather, it was wonderful getting to know you. Thank you very much, Tess, for those beautiful words. Juanita says, great, inspiring show. Thanks, Jim, and great reminder to us all. You're welcome, Juanita. Great show. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that as well. And Christine says, I'll add to, I've made some wonderful new friends from Jim's show with all the positivity and connection it brings to us. Levity truly exists here. Thank you very much, Christine. I agree. Absolutely. I concur. Second that emotion. Absolutely. Heather and Jim, I send you both Zen. You're sharing some of that Gen Zen with us. We love it. Love it, love it, love it. And Kathleen says, I usually only make those goodies once a year, but since you like them so much, I may have to change that. Yes, I know. Yes, our friend from Celtic Thunder, Ryan, has COVID-19. He was just a guest on our show in the summertime. He's a great friend. I've known him for years. I've known all of Celtic Thunder and Celtic Woman ever since they first came over to the United States with their concerts. And I interviewed them on public television, and we are sending our best to Ryan Kelly and his family as well. Good night, Jim and all the lovelies. Truly enjoyed tonight. Hope all have a great night. Hugs and love to all. My Zen place is cooking. Really, really nice. Excellent show tonight. Very insightful evening. You're very welcome. And again, comedy tomorrow. Lots of laughter with Josh Hyman going to be here, comedian and actor extraordinaire. He's excited. So we need some comedy, right? We need some laughter. We need some laughter. Tonight was very insightful about relationships and about life. And tomorrow we're going to have comedy and so much more. And then we've got a myriad of amazing guests all the rest of the week. Gang, we're going to wrap up for now. We're hitting almost 3 hours. Marathon. I should submit these to the Guinness Book of Records for online talk shows or just talk shows in general, because most talk shows, even Johnny Carson, the Tonight Show, didn't go 3 hours. Dick Cavett didn't go through. No, nobody went like 3 hours. It's their stretch those legs type of show. Again, remember, this show is never supposed to be 3 hours as designed. These shows are supposed to be an hour. But we roll. And I always ask the guests, do you have to be somewhere? How much time do you have? And they all say, no, I have all the time. Let's roll. So we roll. Thanks, Jim, for a beautiful show with Heather. Everyone be safe out there. Both my mom and I are sick, being exposed to COVID. Oh, you both have COVID? Didn't know that. You take care of yourself, Christine. We're sending you love and love-it-y from all of us here. Yeah, I have two friends. I have actually several friends who have said that they or their family they're dealing with COVID as well. It's amazing. This COVID thing is so pervasive. I know people who have been getting it and they've done everything right. The masks, the social distancing, the washing the hands, no social gatherings. You got to really, I guess, you got to wipe down the mail and the packages that come in the house. It's just really prayers for everybody and anybody who's struggling with anything in their life right now. We all have struggles from day to day, whether it's financial, whether it's physical, whether it's, familial with family, whatever it is. I pray that everything turns around for us. We're in a really difficult time right now with all the political unrest and all the extraordinary nonsense that's going on out there. Talk about the kids seeing how the adults are acting like children. It's unbelievable what we're witnessing. It's horrific. And very disappointing too. Very disappointing how people are acting and what they're doing. Aggravates the heck out of me, that's for sure. Because it's not in my, DNA to act out in the way that people are doing for whatever the reason or whatever the cause. I like to bring people together and unify however we can. We're not all going to agree with each other, but maybe we're not supposed to. We're supposed to maybe take a little of this, kind of like Mona's spices. Take a few of these spices, take some of those spices, and you make a really good gumbo with it. You know what I mean? That's what life's all about. That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. But some people don't realize that. It's not a one-way street. Good night, Jim and everyone. Have a great night. You as well. You take care. Thanks, Jim, for for you, Jim, and thanks for bringing Heather to us. My pleasure. Jen is Zen. You guys take care and you be well, okay? And you've done everything right, hardly gone out, and still it's very contagious. It is, and there's that new strain of it that's very contagious. Stay strong. You guys take care. Absolutely. It is like watching a bad movie. That's why I say the only people that could have scripted what's been going on politically, economically, socially, and with the pandemic would be Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, or Rod Serling. But positive vibes, right? Positive vibes. All right, gang, we're going to head out. You be well. And you guys, all of you, take care. We will be here tomorrow to turn on the lights and spread some smiles, laughter tomorrow with Josh Hyman joining us. And I encourage you, whenever you can, as often as you can, to breathe, as we always say, and relax. Breathe from the diaphragm. Take care of one another, love one another. And as our guest Heather even said, you got to take time to love yourself. Sometimes that can even be the most difficult, but try to do it and to relax as best as you can. Been showing that relax. This is all made of wood. Isn't that cool? It's made of wood. We got this in Newport, Rhode Island at one of the shops. You guys take care. We're going to scoot off. Getting late. Relax and spread the levity. Exactly right. Love you too, Tess, Labella. Positive vibes. Absolutely. Thank you, Mona. I appreciate that. All right. And Christine, you as well. You take care. And Bernadette and Mary and Tess and everybody. Positive vibes, relax. Jim, love. Perfect way to end. All right, Jen is Zen in Allentown. Get ready to dance and do your kitchen dancing or couch wiggles, because our theme music that you love so much, the Jim Masters Singers and Orchestra, you guys ready? They're ready. They're going to hum away to the Jim Masters show theme just for you, Jen is Zen. Because I know you like to sing and dance to it. So we're going to wrap up for tonight. Jim Masters, thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, we will be right back here, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific tomorrow on our YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. Also on our Facebook page at Jim Masters TV with Josh Hyman, great comedian and actor, tomorrow night. Hope you are here to lighten the load as we will be lighting the load with levity and levity tomorrow on our show. Good night, gang. You're the best. Really, really appreciate all the love and support and watching the show and telling everybody about the show and all the wonderful things you guys do. So many of you do so many incredible things to tell us how much you enjoy the show, but also you tell others about the show, which brings more people, more eyes to the show, which actually helps the show. It helps us with our content. When you are spreading the word and more people watch the show, it actually helps the show. So we can deliver more great episodes and more content day after day for you. You do best, Jim. Thank you, Nova Scotia. All right, gang. Love you all. Again, we thank once again Heather Dugan, our very special guest. And we thank all of you. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully. If not, you can see all these episodes in the archives at Jim Masters TV. Have a good night. Be well. Stay safe. And good night. As Bernadette has said, I quote Bernadette, you have a good night, gang. All right. Take care. Sayonara. Avidazane. Ciao. And all the rest. You be well. Take care. Hang in there, folks. Crazy days we're in right now, but we are here together. At least during the time that we're here together, we know there's some peace and tranquility. Dancing to Jim Love. You got it. Here it comes. The theme just for you, Jen. Good night, everybody. Another guy. As soon as they raise the hand, another. Let's see. That sounds Cajun, Louisiana. LOL. I agree. What? You do best? I agree. Love you back, Jennifer. Love you back. And all of you watching here on the Jim Masters Show live and in the archives. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.